Over. All right, so we will now call this April 22nd, 2026 meeting of the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners to order. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us.
To the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll go to citizen inputs. I don't see any blue forms. Is there anyone in the room who would like to provide public comment this morning? And Eric, do you see any hands online? Okay. Seeing none, we can move on to commissioner announcements. Are there any commissioner announcements?
I'll just acknowledge that I was able to send a letter showing support for the Wallowa County Wolf resolution. So that's Wallowa County's topic. We did talk about it here in passing. So it's just one commissioner showing support for the Wallowa County efforts for wolf population and defending ranchers and hunters.
On top of that, I can just make the comment that my family had, I think it was another huge wolf kill on their ranch in Morrow County last week. The packs follow the herd, follow their cattle herd, and it's they've lost over 30 some cows now to wolves. So, and I was in the others in I was in Brownsville, and the state director from ODF actually told the group of livestock owners at this meeting that Deschutes County is doing a great job and you had better get prepared because the wolves are going to be over there soon. So that was his message to that group of farmers. And they have a lot of sheep over there. So anyway, it's interesting times.
Sticking with the theme of wolves, on Monday evening, the 20th, the Wolf Depredation and Compensation and Financial Assistance Committee met, and we deployed out the $18,000+ that the state provided to us this year. Covered the one depredation at a little over a 1x. You know, that we had requested funds to cover that depredation at 3x. Under the new legislation passed last year. But unfortunately, when they passed that legislation, there was not the money to back it up. So they were able to get us, essentially 60% more than the fair market value of the one cow that had been killed. Then also we were able to deploy the 17,000 plus other dollars to preventative measures projects, which will hopefully keep us on track not to have any depredations in Deschutes County this year, which so far we got through February, and that's pretty good. I'll also mention that I did coffee with a commissioner in La Pine yesterday, and had about 7 or 8 people stop through, talked about a wide range of topics. Also attended the third deflection program graduation ceremony at the Taylor Center yesterday afternoon, and that was a really inspiring event. There were a number of people from the sheriff's office who were there with us, including Deputy Marchington, who coordinates the program, and the sheriff himself stopped by. Got to see Captain Schultz and new Captain Gill, and the stories that some of the graduates of the program told about their journeys, and the way that the support of the deflection program allowed them to get from a dark place to a place of sobriety and, much higher functioning in their lives, was really, it was really moving. So but we continue to lead the state in terms of deflection program performance. It sounds like right now Deschutes County and Lane County are the counties that have the best functioning programs and are the most exemplary programs, and that's something for us all to be proud of. Are there any other announcements?
Just acknowledging, I do have a East Cascade Works annual budget committee meeting at 11:30 today. So I think our schedule is going to support that. I was just acknowledging that we do have executive sessions. So we'll have to just figure out how we're going to fit that all in today.
Yes. Okay. So if there are no further commissioner announcements, we can move on to our consent agenda. I believe we are removing item 2 from the consent agenda. But is there any further discussion or a motion on our consent agenda?
Just for clarity, so item number 2 is just not for today or for discussion?
To a discussion items, move between action.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're moving it to an action item.
Oh, that's good because I actually have my presentation from them a year ago and it was March 11th, 2025. And I went to see, well, I've got the timeline from then and where are we at today? So glad to hear it's been pulled.
I don't want to pull this item from the consent agenda, but on item number 1, the authorization to accept an impacts grant from the Oregon CJC, I would like to get a sense of where we're at with stabilization center funding overall, kind of the whole stack of funding sources, because we received significantly less funds than we had applied for. And so it'd be good to understand whether we have a dire shortfall because this came in a little lower than we had hoped for. So, maybe another meeting sometime soon, or I can, I'd be happy to just receive the information by email.
It'll probably come up during budget discussions too. What's the runway? What's the possible future funding sources also?
Yeah, well, if we know about a shortfall sooner, then, maybe we can do some things before our budget meetings to close those gaps.
Budget's only a couple weeks away, but that's fine.
I'll be sure to provide the information. I'll coordinate with Holly Harris, our Health Services Director, at least on a memorandum to the board that identifies. Sure, if she would like to address the comment. Otherwise, I was going to say we can talk about how we are planning to fully fund it in the budget. But if she wants to jump on and address it, if the commissioners will, that's great.
Let's go ahead and do it right now then. Nicole, thanks for joining us.
If we're going to discuss this, wouldn't we actually approve the rest of the consent agenda and then go to it as item number 1?
Do you want to do that first?
Well, it just would be cleaner
We can
probably
do that
for the minutes.
But regardless, I'm happy to vote for this in favor of this on the consent agenda. So basically, we looking for a motion for items 1, 3, 4, and 5. Because it hasn't been moved yet, if I'm recalling correctly.
Right. That's right. No, I would actually like this poll too. As long as we're discussing it, I think it will show up cleaner in our minutes.
Okay,
So what is it? What's left?
3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so I move items 3, 4, and 5 on the consent agenda be approved.
And I will second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, calling for the vote. Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne.
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Okay, so we'll circle back to item 1 first. Nicole, thanks for joining us. And yeah, I'm just curious to hear how we're doing or what our bundle of funding sources are for the stabilization center with this grant coming in $1 million less than we had asked for, and whether what kind of shape we're in for the coming year.
Yeah, I can get you specific numbers after working with our finance team. I can send an email or get that to Holly to get to you all. I know the budget process is upcoming. But we are still facing a shortfall, which isn't atypical for our program. But we did get some local contributions to our funding stream for our program. City of Bend, City of Redmond, the Sheriff's Office and Dispatch all contributed funding for this next coming fiscal year. So that also helped with us getting a little less than we applied for. The applications for this grant all exceeded the total amount awarded by the CJC. So they did a across the board 30% reduction in what we were totally awarded. So everyone who applied got only 70% of what they applied for.
Okay. And Nick, you said that in our budget, there's a plan to fully fund the stabilization center. How are we going to make up the shortfall?
I think a good segment of that, of the balance, is going to be the Health Services Behavioral Health Reserve Fund. But I do want to coordinate that and confirm that. Either Nicole can confirm that, or Holly, or Cheryl. I will make sure that we confirm that today. Nicole, do you have any other information on?
No, I can work with Cheryl and Holly to confirm all of that and get it to Nick.
Great.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, with that discussion, I'll move approval of document number 2026-268, an agreement accepting the impacts grant from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. And thank you for being here with us today, Nicole. And we should express thanks to the CJC for the impacts grant that we did receive, given all the competition. Thanks.
Thank you for
Yes.
joining us.
Thank you all.
Okay. Now we can move to item number 2, approval of second amendment to a restrictive covenant encumbering a parcel consisting of plus or minus 39.13 acres known as map and tax lot 151-310-A001900 and commonly known as North Point Vista in Redmond.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Christy Bollinger, Deschutes County Property Management, and I believe we also have Linda Klein online joining us virtually from the city.
She is.
Good morning, Linda, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good morning. Sorry, that took me a minute there to get in there. Yeah, I'm Linda Klein. I'm from the City of Redmond. I'm the Housing Program Analyst.
Thank you, Linda. So Commissioners, we're here today at the request of the city to amend a restrictive covenant that was placed on the North Point Vista property when the county conveyed to the city about a year ago. The reason why we pulled the agenda from the consent agenda and added it to the action agenda is at the recommendation of Kim and County Council. What happened is when we were working through the draft second amendment with the city had requested that 2 sections basically be released from their restrictive covenant. So basically, the city has completed one of the requirements, which was to invest about $1 million in infrastructure, and that has been completed. And so they're asking for the release of that from the restriction. In addition to that, the city also asked for another section to be released, and it was the opinion of County Council that the second section did not apply to their request in relation to the $1 million investment being completed on the property. So the restriction includes different requirements. They have met the $1 million infrastructure requirement, but they had asked for 2 different sections. So it was opinion of Kim and County Council that we should only release section 4 of the restriction and not section 5. Kim, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that accurately
Okay.
explains it. Section 5 and our interpretation is that it obviously is for any further violations of the restrictive covenant would still allow the county a reversionary interest in the property.
And that's the topic. It's all about reversionary interest, as in a clear title, or if we don't get this done, it could come back.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
I mean, that's the domain that we're talking about.
That's exactly. So when I had submitted the agenda item with the draft, second amendment, it noted in there that because this is how it came to us in the draft form from the city, that we were releasing section 4 and section 5 of the restrictive covenant, but the county's only agreeing to release section 4. So the copy that will go to the board for signature through Brenda will just include section 4 and not section 4 and 5 as shown on the draft document in your packet. So we're just changing it to section 4 only, and we just wanted this to come to the board so it'd be of the record.
And for the Section 5 reversionary interest, what additional requirements will the city need to complete before that is released?
They're required, like 30% of the property needs to be affordable housing. There's a few different things.
And I believe it's a 20-year term.
Yeah, 20 years. So
So, but basically after 30% of the housing, anticipated housing produced, is delivered, that is affordable, then that Section 5 will go away, or we can release that restriction.
I think if the city came back and requested that would be for discussion, but that's not the intent.
I
So-
think it would stay for the 20-year term. and
Oh, okay.
As long as they continue to enforce that 30% affordable housing, because as they sell those properties, they have to obviously make sure that
Right.
subsequent deed restrictions are placed on those properties with the new owners and that they're continuing to comply and enforce those deed restrictions.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to be affordable for 20 years and we need to ensure that. Okay.
And then this restriction related to the $1 million infrastructure investment, that's going to help developers like with their financing and whatnot, because that has been met now. So that's no longer really an issue. So that's why the city, I think, is asking for that to be released. And Linda, feel free to jump in anytime if you'd like.
Yeah,
I do have a
that's-
comment. It does say on the Second Amendment, it says section 4 and 5, which you said, but is it proper that we approve this with incorrect terminology on this document, the second?
That's just a draft form. So the corrected revised one will be with Brenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to make sure that it doesn't say 5 on it.
Yeah, and it won't. It doesn't. I've already finalized it. I just wanted to have this discussion with the board before I sent it to Brenda. So
Okay.
that has a watermark draft on it. So the intention was not for the board to ever sign the version that you had in it, have in your packet. We're just getting this to the board because of time is of the essence to get this done for the city.
Okay, and Linda, I did by accident pull up a presentation a year ago, March 11th. So tell me, it says on here, December 2026, we're going to have 30 affordable units available. Is that happening this December?
I don't know if they'll be completely available, but we have a purchase and sales agreement right now with Northwest Community Housing. They'll build the first section that will become Rooted Homes project, and that's 30 houses, and they are set. So we have a purchase and sales agreement. They will finish that up in the next couple weeks so that they can get the lift funding on May 8th, and then they plan to break ground in May. So if it's not completely finished by December, it will be well underway because they're breaking ground next month.
Okay, so that's 30 units. And then what about the
Mhm.
120? I mean, I really appreciate that you're doing the affordable first because that normally never happens. So thank you for that. But what about the 120 units, June 2027? How's that coming along?
I think that was the Housing Works project, right? I think it's the
I
other
think so
affordable.
too. Yes.
They did not get their state funding. And so we actually went back to DLCD and had them make a rule change in the pilot project to allow us to, because originally it was, you had to build the affordable and the market rate really kind of side by side at certain proportions. And so they've allowed us to change that. So we're still working on that. We're still trying to get that funding, but it was basically going to stop all the rest of the development if we didn't get that rule change until we got that state money, until we got lift funding for Housing Works. So we're still working on that, but it's definitely in the works.
Okay, all right, well, that's sad to hear that government is slowing down getting affordable things done, don't you think?
It is, but at least they've changed the rules so we're not completely stuck with no housing going, beyond the Rooted Home project. At least we can move forward in the other housing and not just sit on empty land. So we're grateful
How
for
many
that.
months has it taken though?
Excuse me?
How many months has it taken since, they didn't get their state funding? How, has this gone on for like 3 months already?
It's gone on for a while because last year what it was is, the state, they allocate the lift funding a certain way. And last year, a lot of projects on the I-5 corridor got prioritized and not the projects here. Hopefully we'll see that differently. The home ownership projects, a lot got funded. And again, this year, several got funded. But in the rental category, we did not see funding here in Central Oregon in the last round, which is why DLCD was willing to let us do this rule change. Normally it's not something we wanted to do and it's not something they were loving to do, but we all agreed it was necessary to keep this project rolling.
Yes. It's an awesome project and it's really sad that it keeps circling around. So thank you.
Yeah, one other thing as far as going back to the amendment today is I just got word yesterday. I was out in the afternoon because I had a wisdom tooth pulled. And so then I came back to my email to find our developer that is getting this first property going for Rooted Homes. They are still a little bit concerned that there's some restrictions in there that will make it a little bit difficult for them to get funding. And so they'll be, I think, reaching out to county council to talk about that further. And that might be on their deed restriction that something might be changed. But I just want to mention that I think they'll be in touch to get more in the weeds of specifically what might be of concern for them.
Good to know. Logistical question. So the document number 2026-0290 in our packet was draft. We will have a new one to sign with Brenda that doesn't include release of section 5. The document number will still be the same though. So the motion should, we could move approval of a modified document number 2026-0290 or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Any further discussion?
So just for clarity, so section 4 and 5 is the agreement document. It's not like a section on a map, like pointing to
Correct.
a place. It's just the terms. Yep. Just wanted to be real clear. Great. So yeah, with that discussion and acknowledgement that section 5 will not be removed, I'll move approval
Will
of
be
that.
removed.
Well, yeah, so how we want to say it will not be part of this document. Sorry. Move approval of document number 2026-290, a second amendment to the restrictive covenant encumbering a parcel consisting of 39.31 acres known as North Point Vista in Redmond.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Adair? And chair votes yes. Thanks for joining us today, Christy and Linda.
Thank you.
Chair, I'll just offer, I did receive confirmation from Health Services Director Holly Harris and CFO Robert Tintle that the behavioral health reserve funds will cover any gaps for the 24/7 services at the stabilization center. And we can provide additional information about the full stack of the funding sources for the stabilization center.
Glad we have a solution for this year and just reinforces the need for us to diversify funding sources for future years. Thank you.
But isn't that fund balance $39 million?
Approximately.
Yes.
Yeah. And until hundreds of thousands of Oregonians are cast off Medicaid and we're still trying to provide services for people, then who knows what's going to happen. Okay. Action item number 6, second reading of ordinance number 2026-010, amending sections 1.01.090, 12.04.040, and 12.08.040 of the Deschutes County Code regarding codification and revisions to the Deschutes County Code.
Morning, Commissioners. Dave Doyle, County Council. You'll recall 2 weeks ago, you held a public hearing and thereafter approved first reading of ordinance 2026-010. This is the time set for second reading by title only, and then subsequent to that, adoption of the ordinance. No changes have been made in the interim. And if you'll recall, this was, as you indicated, just clarifying some language in county code with regard to how we go about codifying the county code.
Thanks, Dave. Are there any questions or comments or discussion about this?
So just for clarity, there'll be small edits to our county code authorized by state law that won't need to come in front of the Board of Commissioners, non-substantive following state law.
Right,
items.
it's form matters, it's not
Yep.
substantive matters. It's state statute calls out for certain types of form. Some level of uniformity, our county code calls that out, but there was some inconsistencies between section 1 and the identified sections 12. So we brought that forth to you folks for the public hearing 2 weeks ago.
So when that happens, is there like a publishing process, or how does somebody find out that, as I say, I understand these are just minor tweaks in formatting, but I mean, is there a notification process, or would it ever show up?
Well, the code gets updated and when new code language becomes effective, and so it's hosted online, and that's, Pauline goes in and makes those changes, and as of the effective date, I mean, the notices, when you look at the code, you'll see the new language potentially, or any changes that were made. But no, there's not like a notice blast like in land use or anything. The code is what it is, and it's live, and it is the code as of that moment. So if people go
Yeah.
online, look at our code, that's the code at this point.
Well, that's helpful. So then, yeah, if there's anything that was just reformatted, you'll be able to kind of click through and find out when and why or something.
I don't
like
see that being a wholesale issue by any stretch.
that. Okay.
Just dealing with essentially code revisions that come up during the course of business. For instance, I know you have some housekeeping code amendments, your second reading on those today as well. And so we want to make sure all the code amendments that we do throughout the year are done in a uniform manner, so that the document is professional and easy to follow,
Yep.
and consistent with the ORS direction as well.
Mhm. Great. Thank you.
Anything further, or
No, I move approval of a second reading of ordinance number 2026-010 by title only.
I will second it.
moved and seconded? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Now we can read the title. Before the Board of County Commissioners of Deschutes County, Oregon, an ordinance amending Title I, General Provisions, and Title 12, Roads, Sidewalks, and Public Places of the Deschutes County Code to further clarify current county council codification processes. Ordinance number 2026-010.
I'll move adoption of ordinance number 2026-010.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Calling for the vote. Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Well, come on up and join us. Item number 7, second reading of ordinance 2026-006, 2026 housekeeping text amendments.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Kyle Collins, Senior Planner. As the Chair just pointed out, I'm just here for a second reading of Ordinance 2026-006. These are the 2026 housekeeping amendments. Board held a public hearing on the set of amendments 2 weeks ago, ultimately closed the hearing in the record on that matter that same day and held first reading. If you have any questions, happy to answer those.
So there have been no changes since then.
No changes to the ordinance since then.
Great. So I'll move approval of second reading of ordinance number 2026-006 by title only.
And I will second it.
just heard an echo of something. I thought someone else said something. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. And we can do the reading now. Before the Board of County Commissioners of Deschutes County, Oregon, an ordinance amending Deschutes County Code Title 18 zoning ordinance and Title 19 Bend Urban Area zoning ordinance to incorporate changes to state and federal law and provide clarification of existing regulations, procedures, and policies. Ordinance number 2026-006.
And now I'll move adoption of ordinance 2026-006.
A second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Calling for the vote. Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Thank you.
Thanks very much, commissioners.
Thank you.
Right. Item number 8. A lease agreement with Copper Top 2 for the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office substation in Terrebonne.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Price, Business Officer at the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. And I'm joined by Captain Mike Sumberg. He leads our patrol division at the Sheriff's Office. We're here today to request your approval for document number 2026-0197, a lease agreement between Copper Top 2 and Deschutes County for Sheriff's Office substation in Terrebonne. I'd just like to make a couple just data points, administratively, and then I'll pass to Captain Sumberg for just, the operational benefits of us operating out of Terrebonne. This lease agreement would result in us paying a monthly payment of $2,860.40. As a point of reference, what we currently pay under the existing lease agreement for the same property, roughly 2,000 square feet in Terrebonne, is $2,460.40. I do want to note that that would be due to go up just due to percentage increases each year at any rate. So the resulting increase is roughly $200 over, that 2,000. So it's roughly 10%, but it's 200 over 2,000. So that 10% might sound high, but it's, that numerator over that denominator. And so we still find it to be, very equitable. We just, under our research and what we're looking at for real estate fair market value is roughly 2,300 to 3,800 in Terrebonne for commercial real estate. So still right there in the middle of it with this increase and working with this new owner who is more than happy to continue having us as tenants. So I'll pass to Captain Sumberg just for some of the operational points.
So excuse me, did you say it was 2460 before?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a $400 increase?
Yes, but that 2460 would be due to increase just by itself.
Right.
And then so the resultant is, is 400 total, but half of that would have already happened if we would have stayed under the existing contract.
The existing. Okay. Thank you for that. I didn't quite follow.
Yes.
Thanks.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Mike Sumberg, as Jeff said, the patrol captain for the Sheriff's Office. So I've had the opportunity to work at the Sheriff's Office since 2002. And the majority of that time I worked in the Terrebonne and Redmond area. Originally, when I was first employed here, we had a small substation in the city limits of Redmond. Our opportunity in about 2004 opened up in Terrebonne. So we moved off Highway 97. And then we had a better opportunity through a building that was owned by Mr. Ferguson. He owned the markets in the area and was a very well-known member of the community. He offered us a very financially, fiscally responsible opportunity to lease one of his buildings. We've been there for over 15 years, and it's this building here. Unfortunately, Mr. Ferguson passed recently and the building was sold. So we are now in a engagement with Jeff Gordon, who is the new owner of the building. We've already been working with Mr. Jordan. We have a great relationship. He definitely is the type of property owner that meets us in the middle and helps us with projects. He's improved some heating and HVAC issues. We have trimmed trees on the property. We have used our work crews to save some money with that cleanup. So we've definitely done some things to improve the appearance of our building. Our building houses 2 deputies full-time on a rotating shift. There's 4 workstations in it and a supervisor's area. We also have a break room, a briefing area, and a small fitness area for our deputies. So it's staffed 24/7. It is afforded us an opportunity to really focus on northern Deschutes County. Recently with the Redmond Police Department putting their police forces on the north end of the city limits of Redmond. We, the sheriff and I, have spoke about an opportunity to get a small work center on the south side of Redmond. So through our partnerships with Jeff Curtis at the fairgrounds, we've started those discussions, met with him last week, and that would essentially be working towards a workstation or a desk to get some access to the fairgrounds property. This would not take place at the Terrebonne office. Our partnership with that community is rooted, and we want to keep that for as long as humanly possible. And we believe that this lease is fiscally responsible. When we talk about moving, finding a building that fits our needs, finding a community that accepts us, we feel like Terrebonne's home to the sheriff's office, so we don't want to compromise that. But getting a small work center is a direction that we want to go. We're also looking at south Deschutes County, if that makes sense, south of Sun River. In another area, we're starting to talk to community partners about getting another workstation. Also not compromising our South Lapine substation. But we're just trying to expand our footprint, slow down response time, see the areas that need attention from law enforcement. And currently the Terrebonne substation has really helped us out with the ODOT projects. We had a town hall meeting at the beginning of this year, and some of the traffic concerns were brought to our attention. We were the staff those concerns with our traffic team, sergeant, and our deputies in the North District, and they made a pretty substantial impact on the Davison Road area, 97 area, just doing more enforcement and education. So we definitely see the Terrebonne substation as a positive for the sheriff's office.
Happy to take any questions or comments you have.
I have an almost unrelated facilities question. So the county has a real interest in the build out of a sewer system in Terrebonne. And I was just curious, and if you don't know right now, it's okay, but I was curious if this property owner for this property has signed on, as elected to be hooked up to the sewer system that is being built out there. And
I do not know that, sir.
We could follow up on that.
yeah, it would be great to know that. I mean, and that wouldn't affect the decision on this lease either way, but it would be great to know that they were moving in that direction, and then we could feel good about some of our increased lease fee being applied to lessening groundwater impacts in the Terrebonne area from our work center.
Got it.
Exciting to have this partnership. It's a little bit of upgrades and sprucing it up, sounds like, during this transition also. So it's a good fit, and I'm glad we do have that presence in the area.
Definitely, it gets you closer to the county line. And I know we have, I've heard from people that live up there that we still have people that are jumping. And that's such a tragedy. So
Well,
I'm-
a little bit, sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
no,
Our deputies respond to quite a bit of calls of people that are in distress. There's untold stories because of confidentiality, but our deputies often meet people at that location, and they're able to talk to them, get them resources, get them to medical providers, and it happens routinely. So having that location helps with that. It helps with Smith Rock. It's a quick access point to Sisters through Lower Bridge, Ranch. So even though it's at the northern end, there are those benefits.
no, and especially Smith Rock is right there, and all the things that happen with Smith Rock. So yeah, you're closer to the action.
And I wanted to ask, in situations like this, there's also are we having good collaboration with the community crisis response team? And do they have enough people who are close by enough to be able to help to co-respond, or in situations when the person having a mental health crisis is not a danger to anyone else, to maybe just send the crisis response team instead of deploying sworn officers?
Very good partnership. I've seen a major increase in our cohesiveness in responding to people in crisis. De-escalation was a new term to me 10 years ago. It's a common term to all of our deputies now. It's a key component of how we keep our community safe, how we keep our officers safe. I think a modern officer realizes that a uniform is not always the best presence to help somebody in crisis, and we're humble enough to step back and call the resources that will help a person in crisis.
Great, thank you.
Float, sir.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I also just wanted to know, way up in the northern corner of the county, whether the CCRT was actually able to respond efficiently and effectively, in addition to the DCSO who that has a workstation right there.
When feasible, yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Further questions? Thoughts?
I'll make the motion to approval of document number 2026-0197, a lease agreement between Copper Top 2 and Deschutes County for the Sheriff's Office substation in Terrebonne.
And I will second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Thanks for sharing today.
Yeah. Great to know that, we are able to provide prompt, timely, and efficient services, in every corner of Deschutes County. So if there's no further comments or discussion, we can move to a vote. Commissioner Adair,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for joining us today. Okay. Item number 9, our annual update from Visit Central Oregon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cam Sparks, Budget Manager for the record. So today we have Visit Central Oregon here to provide their annual update. And as you know, the county does pass through a transient lodging tax revenue that's required for tourism to Visit Central Oregon. We're anticipating passing through $3,437,525 in fiscal year 26. And we've budgeted approximately $3.5 million for fiscal year 27. So with that, I'll just go ahead and pass it off to Visit Central Oregon.
Thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
Great to see you all as well. Thank you very much for the time and for your service and being here this morning. We appreciate the opportunity to provide an annual update this morning. I'm going to check and just make sure that I can scroll through on the screen. I want to make sure we get through this as quickly as possible and save you all a little bit of time. For the record, my name is Scott Larson. I'm the CEO for Visit Central Oregon, and I'm joined this morning by our board chair, Tom O'Shea from Sun River Resort. Kicking things off, and I'll scroll through this deck. We'll start with the nuts and bolts. VCO does hold some financial reserves. We've broken those up into 2 separate buckets. We have funds that are dedicated specifically for support of air service. We'll talk a little bit about that this morning. We also have a bucket that's allocated as sort of general reserves. We came to that number because when we take the amount that we receive from Deschutes County and our partnership here, as well as the funds from Travel Oregon that we receive, $500,000 is approximately 10 to 15% of total operating, and we feel like that would cover us in the event of a 10 to 15% downturn. When we look at revenue for the year ahead, you can see there we've worked off of about 3.3 for the current year. It's been forecasted for us that we should come in right around 3,557 for the year ahead. And by and large, the rest of the revenue pieces are the same. You'll see Meet in Central Oregon there at 60,000. That's because we lead and own that initiative underneath the VCO umbrella, but we do collect funds from 4 other DMOs who are participating in that collaboration with us. When we look at expenses, you can see here, Future Fund and Destination Stewardship primarily live underneath the Travel Oregon portion of our budget, so they're not reflected here. I did allocate an increase for Meet in Central Oregon. That's due to the fact that we've committed funds, bids that we've awarded for groups and events for the year ahead. So we need to hit at least 315 for FY27. We also need to hit at least 315 for FY28 because we've been working really hard on trying to build that pipeline of future group business. Industry relations is flat for the most part. I was hoping to increase those funds this year. I would really love to see us do another Central Oregon mini tourism summit the way that we did about 2 years ago, but didn't feel like I had the funds available to do that this year. So we'll need to get creative if we're able to pull that off. Our largest increase year over year is in advertising and marketing. We are a marketing first organization, and that is the bulk of the work that we do. So that's where we've allocated most of the increase there. Operating costs are up. I think that's the case for just about everybody right now. The two factors that are really driving that increase for us this year, right now we're trying to streamline some of our payroll and benefits costs. We work with about 4 or 5 different vendors currently. And so we've partnered going forward with BBSI locally to try and streamline and make that process a little bit more efficient. The other thing that's contributing to that increase, I think most of you know, we have a visitor center in the village in Sun River. That's also where we house our offices for our team. Those costs are going up $15,000 year over year. So I think it's important that we have that location, but those costs have definitely jumped. And then you'll see a personnel increase, which we'll dig into here in a few slides.
One of the questions, you might get to it in the later section here, is when the Meet in Central Oregon effort, what properties or what, just a little bit, fill that out a little bit. What does that look like in Central Oregon? But as I say, maybe next section.
We'll have it in a future slide.
Yep, I figured.
Promise.
Thank you.
As we look at the advertising and marketing budget, you can see there's really 2 big increases here. The first one is in advertising. Again, we're a marketing first organization, so we try to put as much money there as we can. The other big jump here is digital and data resources. Across the whole organization, that number is actually roughly flat year over year. The reason you see a large increase here is because some of that has historically lived on the Travel Oregon side of our budget. We've moved it over here because that allows us to increase funding that's available for the future fund and for grants going forward. Looking at personnel expenses and digging in here a little bit, benefits are up. I think our health insurance increased by 7 or 8% year over year, so we're absorbing that cost. I also increased staff training and development by quite a bit. I'm about to round the corner on 2 years with this organization, and I learned when I was hired that a lot of the staff wasn't really getting out and going to professional development, conferences and opportunities. They weren't upskilling, they weren't building those peer-to-peer networks. So I've really pushed the team over the last year to do that. They've done a great job. We've exceeded $30,000 in the current fiscal year, so I've bumped that up for them in the future. I'm a huge believer in investing in our team and taking care of our staff. And I think it also allows us to be more effective and efficient with our marketing campaigns as well. And then I'm going to jump to this next slide.
Oh, Scott, so how many are on your team now and how many were on when you started?
Sure. So that's actually on this slide. As we dig into personnel, we had 14, including full-time and part-time when I was hired, and now we're down to 11, including part-time and full-time. And I put this slide together because I think that this does a better job of explaining sort of our personnel costs across the organization. You'll see FY 24-25, which is really the year that I inherited when I was hired. In the current fiscal year, we've lowered staffing costs by 10% while revenue has increased. And then you'll see that that number increases by approximately 5% for FY27. But when you look at the total budget, what we receive from Deschutes County and what we receive from Travel Oregon, and you look at our expense ratio of personnel costs to total revenue, you can see that number trending in what I believe is the right direction. I think we've done a good job of right sizing the team while also growing revenue at the same time. And then that 4.8% increase, we don't do cost of living adjustments at VCO. Everything is based on merit reviews at the end of the fiscal year. So that's sort of what we're allocating for the year ahead. When we look at county budget, and again, this is just the county side of the budget, but again, you can see the bulk of the work that we do is in advertising and marketing, and then we try to keep a lot of those other costs in check. This is a snapshot of the RCTP budget, which is essentially, we'll just call it the Travel Oregon budget this morning. This comprises about 25%, give or take, of our revenue and our work. And we did see an increase there. We don't know what the carryover is going to look like yet. Travel Oregon is still working on that number for us. But per state statute, anything that gets carried over on that side of the budget has to go towards grants and strategic investments. So I feel good that we're going to be able to increase our grant funds for the next fiscal year. This slide is a little bit hard to follow, but the takeaway here is that at present, based on the data that we have, TLT collections are up about 3% year over year and just shy of 5% relative to budget. Winter was challenging for us, but having said that, Central Oregon actually fared a lot better than a lot of other places across the West. What we observed were the months of November and February in terms of when that money is generated. Both of those months were flat year over year. December and January were down 6% and 7% respectively. But a lot of other mountain destinations across the West were down 10, 15, 20% over that time period. So we've actually fared really well. Speaking to the marketing work that we do, last year when I was in front of you all, I think we were right in the middle of going through the marketing RFP process and looking for, do we stay with the current vendor? Do we make a change? What does that look like? We had about a dozen really well qualified applicants. That process was really competitive. The bar was really high. The presentations were really strong. And we ended up selecting Madden Media as our vendor of choice. They've done a really great job for us. They're headquartered in Tucson, Arizona, but they've got regionally remote teams across the country. And we've got a dedicated account representative with them as well. So obviously, one of the things that we do is we believe that it's our job to inspire responsible visitation to the region. And a great example of that is we're always out pursuing new content across the region. We are the regional destination marketing and management organization. So while we do focus a lot on Deschutes County, we also cover a footprint from Tye Valley to La Pine and then the Tri-County region. It's about 10,000 square miles. Somebody told me recently that it's roughly the size of the state of New Jersey. So we're always out trying to get more content. That work is never done. And you can see on these next couple slides, we're always trying to focus on different seasons, different demographics, different parts of the region to make sure that we're doing a good job of telling the story of Central Oregon. We've got really great golf assets. It's no secret that we have amazing golf in Central Oregon. We're fortunate to have 3 of the top 100 courses. And we're pushing that extra hard this spring just with the winter that we've had and the early openings of a lot of our golf courses. We've also organized some content shoots through our partnership with Madden Media. What we've tried to do as part of that is, although they are remote and they're a national agency, we do also work with local photographers. We work with local influencers, videographers. We have a local travel writer who writes a lot of our blogs. We've really tried to, they've been the right fit for us from a marketing agency standpoint, but we've tried to prioritize those local relationships where we can. When we look at marketing in our fly markets, you can see here on this map, we're trying to prioritize our fly markets and our high value visitors. We do a little bit of marketing in the Valley and Portland and the I-5 corridor, but the focus for us for the most part is on those fly markets. The primary markets you'll see there, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, Phoenix. You've got some secondary markets like Denver and Vegas. But we try to strike a balance, right? We try to prioritize the fly market and the Redmond Airport and that amenity for us, but we also try to think about the drive market. And that's one of the things I think that's a strength of this destination is it allows us to weather economic conditions and fuel prices and things really well. And we can toggle that switch on and off based on what's going on with the consumer and the economy. I love talking about the Redmond Airport because I think it's a really great story of something that is a resident amenity. It's essential to economic development, but it's also a visitor piece for us too. So we serve as the marketing arm for COAST, which stands for Central Oregon Air Service Team. And then we have that bucket of air service reserves, which is really there to support marketing, expanding new routes, sustaining existing routes, pursuing new carriers. I'm excited right now. I don't know that we're going to receive the grant, but we've applied for a matching funds grant with Travel Oregon, where we've carved off $500,000 of our reserves to try and receive an additional 500, net $1 million to pursue specifically air service. And we know from passenger data that on a year-round basis, passenger traffic at that airport's about 50-50 visitor to resident. So it's a really great story. It's a really important amenity for us, and it's one that we're constantly investing in. On the digital side, we've made some updates to our website. This is sort of your hallmark piece in the marketing world on the digital side, and we've definitely made some adjustments here, whether that's through improving search results or changing the layout to make information more easily accessible and easier to find on the website. And the team has done a great job there. This next slide, I think all of you have heard me speak to this at some point, but we're really investing in trying to find solutions that help us navigate smoke and fire and the threats that come with that. We can hope for a heavy snow year. We can hope for a wet spring, but unfortunately, hope is not a strategy. And we believe that this is a world-class destination. We understand the importance of our summer season, and we believe we need to develop tools proactively that support that. And so what we've put together, you can see a snapshot of the map there. It's an interactive tool that pulls in information from Watch Duty, Purple Air, NOAA, and ODOT to create a 48-hour forward-looking preview of what the smoke is going to look like in the region. Our hope is that that helps us retain and convert a traveler from Portland on a Thursday evening who's on the fence. You might be questioning whether or not you should go to a concert. Or let's say that you're staying at Black Butte Ranch and it's smoky, but it's not smoky in Sun River. So if you're planning a hike, can you go hike somewhere else? You can see on that page too, there's other resources, itineraries, and things like that if it is smoky. And we've also tried to include fairly high up on that page links out to all of the Office of Emergency Management resources as well. We certainly do not intend to take that place. We want to provide a tool for visitors that preserves and protects that experience and that tourism economy, but we don't intend to displace the Office of Emergency Management.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
I was talking to someone about visitation or about smoke in this area the other day, who not a local person. And they were shocked when I described to them how far away sometimes smoke comes, and really mars our air quality here. And I am wondering if as we look towards a more fireful, smoky future, is there analysis that would be helpful on where smoke has come from, how far it can travel, so that beyond just looking 2 days ahead, we might have some kind of a sense of early detection of threats. A big fire started in Bozeman, Montana area, and with this kind of weather, we can expect that probably we are going to be getting a lot of that smoke. Is there? I appreciate, and I think it's great that you're tapping into these data sets and analytical and predictive tools to give us that 48-hour look. But I'm wondering if we, looking back at historical fires and smoke, we might even be able to be more predictive of, like a week from now, it's going to be terrible.
Sure. I'm not aware of any resources like that because I think a lot of it depends on weather patterns. But I can certainly do some research and see, because I would love to see us move outside of that 48-hour window. 72 to whatever, 3 to 4 days would be really fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, even that would be really helpful when we talk about the weekend travelers who are on the fence. But I'm happy to take a look and see, because I'm not aware of anything right now. But it's something we've talked about internally.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's because we have dealt with people so much yeah, on smoke management for prescribed fire, um, between the commissioners and key county staff, we know a lot of the folks at DEQ and ODF and the Forest Service, et cetera, who know everything, know everything that there is to know about smoke and the movement of smoke. So, meteorologists and other folks within state and federal agencies. So if we can be helpful at all in trying to kind of extend our forecasting capability, let me know.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Jumping back to the website, I'm going to gloss over this just a little bit because some of this is sort of marketing nerd stuff, but we've really tried to improve the website experience. We've really tried to improve page load time, navigation, things like that. Everything we do is data driven. I'm very much an analytical brain, a data nerd, and if it doesn't pencil, it's probably not something that we're going to pursue. I'm going to gloss over these because there's some good information in here, but it's fine print. So I'm going to trust that you all have read that. When we look at paid media, there's a couple things that I want to call out on this slide. The first of which I think we've done a much better job this year through this partnership with the new agency of focusing on the right metrics, diversifying our strategy a little bit. It's allowed us to track what in the industry is known as ROAS. It's return on ad spend. It's like return on investment, but for marketing nerds. And that's been really helpful for us in guiding some of our strategy. You'll also see at the bottom there that we ran a winter focused campaign this year. We picked up almost 20,000 qualified email addresses that are all focused and interested in visiting Central Oregon in the winter. So I'm really excited to see what we can do with that next season. And then when it comes to paid media, I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past off and on, but what we've done very intentionally as a team and as part of our strategic plan is we only allocate 15% of our marketing budget for summer. The rest of the 85% is focused on off-peak and shoulder season. We do 25 and 25 for fall and spring, 35 for winter, and then 15 for summer. We're trying to be really intentional and strategic about how we spend that money, and we acknowledge a lot of the pain points that are taking place during the summer peak season. You'll see here a shot of some wellness experiences. This is something that just continues to grow. There's a lot of interest and a lot of demand here. And I think in the past,
Can I just ask
yes, ma'am.
Tom a question? How does summer look right now for you all?
Summer looks really strong. We've never have an issue with visitation in the summer. What ultimately will be challenged, will be room rates. In other words, can we sustain the level of we charge for a room versus what we did last year? Last year, I think it's going to be flat year over year, quite frankly. But overall, summer is strong.
Okay.
The challenge this year really is mostly government.
Okay.
Lack of government meetings, but that's an off-season issue.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to touch on here, I think as part of this marketing partnership with Madden Media, one of the things we've been able to do is really diversify our marketing strategy. In the past, I think we were a little bit too narrow when it comes to social media or Google AdWords, and we've done a great job of really expanding that footprint, not so much in the content that's featured, or the seasons that are featured, but really getting out into the TripAdvisor stuff or different marketing channels, connected TV, different avenues. And I think that's allowed us to reach a broader audience and engage with a broader group of folks who are interested in visiting. The other thing that I think has been great about that partnership on the paid media front is you've got two pictures here I want to call your attention to. The one in the upper left, we've really strengthened our partnership with Mount Bachelor and that marketing team and tried to lean into that pretty hard. Mount Bachelor does not have a base village the way that some other similar sized destinations do. And I think that for some that's considered a disadvantage, but I think for us it's really a competitive advantage because it allows us to open up those experiences to a broader range of things. And so we've really leaned into trying to cultivate through a partnership with Sun River Resort and Mount Bachelor, the shuttle service, the rental service, creating sort of a quasi ski and ski out type of experience. You've got the village there. It allows us to sort of cultivate that. The other thing that we've done that I think is new for us and kind of cool is in that upper right, you'll see a digital billboard that says book your trip now, it's snowing. We allocated a portion of our budget that we refer to as just-in-time marketing, and it's basically on the fly, allows us to be a little bit more nimble. And those ads were queued up so that we could turn them on when it snowed at Bachelor and turn them off when it stopped snowing. We're trying to capture sort of that FOMO energy, right? You should get up here. It's a powder day. We didn't get to use that this winter as much as we had hoped, unfortunately, but we're excited about the possibility of doing that next season. And I think there's opportunity in the summer to lean into that as well. Looking at marketing co-ops, this was a new one for us. I remember talking a little bit about this with you all last year when I was here. We were doing away with sponsorships. We were leaning into this, trying to create this marketing co-op program. And I would say it went okay for us in year one. We're going to do it again next year. It's a small group of partners that we're sort of building this with. We went through about 50% of the funds that we allocated for this program. But I really believe that it's our responsibility as the regional DMO to try and, not to use a cliche here, but a rising tide raises all ships. And making sure that we support our rural chambers, our rural DMOs across the region. In a lot of cases, they're strapped by revenue, they're strapped by capacity, they don't have the content, but they want to do the marketing, or they do the marketing, but they don't know what to do with the data. And so we're trying to serve as a resource, as that umbrella agency for the region. And we're also going to tweak some things for year two, because we learned that we didn't get it exactly right. But I'm a fan of making sure that we're trying. Obviously,
Thank you for doing that, honestly.
What's that?
I said, thank you for doing that. I think it's really important to bring the entire region up. And I know Sun River Resort has an international reputation that it's of its excellence, but there are little or smaller programs here that are really wonderful that somebody else could be really happy going to. So I appreciate that.
We still continue to do print media. Print is not dead, contrary to popular belief. We print over 100,000 visitor guides, and we work with Oregon Media locally to design these and print these. Your travel guide or your visitor guide is sort of your hallmark print piece, if you will. It's sort of like your website, but for print. And we distribute those all across the country. We also create a weddings guide, again, with Oregon Media. This is an area that does well for us, but I think we're taking a closer look at this going forward because I think there's still some opportunity here. We've heard feedback from our resorts that they could use a little bit of assistance in driving more wedding business. So we're taking a look at that one. And then we also produce a Savor Guide. We're really fortunate to have a lot of great dining and drink options across the region, and we think it's important to make sure that we're showcasing that as well. Dark Sky, I think you all have heard me speak to this in the past. This is one of those things that historically was sort of a sidebar activity, and it continues to grow and grow and grow. It's great that there's demand here. It's great that there's interest here. Travel Oregon has really leaned into this space, so we've partnered with them on a lot of things. We've got a number of different certified communities across the region. And one of the things that I like about the Dark Sky piece particularly is not only is it a relatively leave no trace, environmentally friendly activity, they also need a place to stay. They need dinner, they need breakfast. It checks a lot of good boxes for us. So we produce this guide, which helps people connect with that resource. On the email marketing front, we've made some great strides here as well over the last year. Katie Gilbert on our team sees this activity, and she really has done a great job of cleaning up our list, removing email addresses that were unengaged. We have retooled the layout. We were just nominated as a finalist at a national tourism conference last week for our email performance. And I'm a huge believer that email marketing is a really key tool in driving demand. So there's lots of good data in here. I trust that you all have read it. Generally speaking, the long and short is that as you clean up those email addresses, you see better open rates, you see better click-through rates because the people who are reading them and receiving them are more interested and more qualified. On the PR front, Madden Media does a great job for us here. I actually think this might be their stronger suit. They've done a really good job of getting us in front of a whole host of different travel writers. It's always less expensive if we can earn a story in something like Travel and Leisure or the New York Times versus buying ads in that publication. We focus a lot of those pitches specifically on our fly markets and specifically on our shoulder and off-season months. We do a little bit of pitching on leisure, but we also do a little bit of pitching on group business and trying to drive that side of the business as well. And we've also focused a lot on trying to pitch Central Oregon as a brand. I think we're really fortunate in this region to have some really great anchors, whether that's Sisters or Bend or Redmond, but trying to drive awareness of Central Oregon as a place and as a brand. You can see a couple of screenshots here of some of that business that we've earned, whether it's LA Times, New York Times, Outside Magazine. All of those are great placements and provide a lot of value for us. I'm going to gloss over Dark Sky Tourism because, again, this is something that we've talked about and it really seems to continue to grow for us. We also believe that Central Oregon, being a world-class destination, is one that should be accessible for everyone. So we've leaned into this partnership with Wheel the World, with Travel Oregon, to really promote accessibility, and leaned into those efforts. Looking at the regional program side, and that's sort of our Travel Oregon portion of the budget. So we're going to cover that here for just a few minutes. But a lot of the work that's done on that side of the budget, we've got about $1 million from Travel Oregon to do this work, is guided by what we call the TIPS survey. It's the Tourism Industry Partner Survey. We do this every couple of years with them, take that survey data, and then we use that to guide those efforts. And you can see on this next slide some of the key takeaways in terms of things that were identified. So you'll see sustainability, you'll see visitor management solutions, and all of those things are designed to ladder up to their 10-year strategic vision, which we've tied into our 5-year strategic plan as well in the work that we do at VCO. We do a little bit of marketing on that side of the budget. It's fairly minimal, but Christine does a great job on our team of really leveraging that smaller dollar figure with our partnership with Deschutes County to extend those dollars and really leverage them in a greater way. And so she's been able to cover that ground. Again, talking about being an accessible destination. I love this shot of Smith Rock State Park. Really, really cool to see that. And it was really cool to see Oregon recognized last year as the first accessibility verified state in the country through our partnership with the Wheel the World and Travel Oregon. The timing of that was also really well planned. That announcement took place the week prior to the Travelability Summit. That's an international summit, brings people from all across the globe to spend a week talking about innovations in accessible travel. It was hosted at Sun River Resort and it was in October. So it was a win for us in a lot of different ways. Christine continues to lead the Central Oregon Destination Management Studio work. Really, I think when I was here last year with you all, this slide was very much in action. We were sort of trying to corral a lot of ideas. And the past year, we've taken over 100 concepts. We've whittled those down. We're down to essentially 3 that we've received grant funding from Travel Oregon to cover. And what we've identified, you know, again, is high use outdoor rec, rural outdoor recreation, and heritage arts and makers, so arts and culture. All of this sort of ties up in that 10-year strategic vision that they have, as well as the TIPS survey that guides a lot of this work. So you can see some photos here of some of that work. We've contributed to helping fund the sand ladder replacement at Dillon Falls. We continue to lean into the dark sky space. Again, I think this is an opportunity, but I think what we find a lot is we have this amenity and folks want to get certified, but they aren't really sure how to do that. Or they've gotten certified and then they're not really sure what to do with that designation. Or we hear sometimes that they've got the designation and a visitor wants to know how to experience it, but they don't have the outfitter to connect those dots. And so we're trying to make sure that we support those efforts as well. And then you have the Future Fund program, which I think many of you all are familiar with. We should have that press release out sometime this week as far as the awards for this year. In prior years, in last year, we awarded $280,000. This year, we're going to award 300. And we've set an internal goal, we believe, with carryover funds and some other changes we've made. We've set an internal target of trying to get as close as we can to 400 next year. We think that we can get close to that. We are absolutely a marketing first organization. We recognize that that's what we do, but I think it's also really important that we continue to invest in our communities, destination stewardship, take care of the places that we promote, and also try and lift the whole region that we cover. So again, you can see some shots here. This is the White's Creek Overlook. We've made investments with OAS and AdvenTshare and Wanderlust Tours. We've provided some additional facilities in Antelope. They were actually just recognized as the first international dark sky community in the state of Oregon. So it's great that we've provided some facilities there for folks to enjoy that resource. And then you can see cumulatively here over the course of 4 years, including this year, that we've given close to $2 million back into the community. And we aim to keep that growing year over year going forward. Meet in Central Oregon, Commissioner DeBone asked about this earlier. This is an initiative that I'm really excited about. I think that the potential here is enormous. It's a bit of a different approach to how we've handled group business in the past. Visit Central Oregon owns the Meet in Central Oregon initiative. So it lives with us. We contract with Joanna Eisler to do that work. She's done it for us in the past. Now she's an independent contractor. And that allows us to then bring other DMOs into this puzzle as well. So we've got Explore Prineville, Explore Sisters, Visit Bend, and Destination Redmond, plus VCO on board with this. It's a very collaborative effort. And what we sort of, the idea behind it, what we sort of learned is that for an event planner or somebody planning weddings, reunions, what have you, it's really confusing from the outside to try and figure out. We're all familiar with the funding jurisdictions and how those work, but somebody else is not, right? And so we've tried to bring sales leaders together in a collaborative format and also lower that level of friction. It's awkward for us when somebody comes to visit Central Oregon and says, I want to hold a conference at Brasada Ranch. And we say, well, that's outside our area. Or they say they want to plan a conference in Central Oregon and in Bend, and you say, where are you staying? And they say Sun River Resort. And we say, well, that's not Bend. And so we're trying to lower that level of friction to make it easier for folks to plan groups and conferences here. We've also done some other changes on this front. We've allocated more marketing dollars for this effort. We understand the value that this has during winter season in particular. We've made it more prominent on the website. It's easier to find. We've put together blogs. We've worked on SEO. We're really trying to invest more in this space because we see the opportunity. You can see some of the ads that we've done this year to support this effort, but I think this is going to be a much bigger piece for us going forward. These numbers reflect what we've been able to do on this front. So you can see actualized is what's taken place. Confirmed is what is coming up but hasn't taken place, and then prospective is what we have in the future pipeline. So just to wrap things up, we strive for the highest return on investment. I think that goes without saying. I think we've made a lot of really good strides in the last year. I think a lot of that has to do with our new partnership with the marketing agency that we've chosen to work with. We've moved away from focusing on click-through rates and impressions and sort of what we call vanity metrics and looking more at things like return on investment, right? If we spend $1,000 on a campaign, how much money actually came back into the community, and then benchmarking that and growing it. I take it incredibly seriously that we're responsible for being good fiscal stewards of taxpayer money. And it's really important that we continue to deliver on that in a responsible way. We're collaborative. I think there's some great examples in here, whether that's Meet in Central Oregon or the marketing co-op program. We're always trying to look for ways to think like a region, to elevate everybody, to bring everybody to the table in a collaborative way. And our initiatives are data-driven, right? If it doesn't pencil, I think it's unlikely that we're going to do it. And we use data to guide everything that we do, whether that's credit card, cell phone, website. We have lots of great data and really leaning into that to making sure that we're making the right decision and using that to guide our path. Thank you again for the time this morning. Really appreciate it. Always love being in front of you, and I'm happy to take any questions that haven't been brought up.
Are there any questions?
Couple thoughts, dark skies. We were out camping years ago, and I just happened to have the space station coming up over the horizon app or something. And I said, hey, come on over here, about 20 minutes, going to go right over here. And everybody got excited. So, that is an opportunity. So knowing that there's such a multi-generation family opportunity, and we are leaning into that. So dark skies really are very valuable. And thanks for leaning into that also. Co-op efforts, is that the property operators co-op? I mean, who's buying into that?
Sure. So we've extended that to our resort partners, to a lot of our rural chambers and DMOs,
Yeah.
and then a handful of, we'll call them demand generators. So Mount Bachelor, High Desert Museum, property management companies are eligible as long as the properties they feature are in Central Oregon. I think the total list is about 25 folks right now, because we're still sort of piloting it-ish. We knew we weren't going to get everything right in year one, but we felt a sense of responsibility to try.
But I just see that as kind of coming around. It used to be Visit Central Oregon, COVA. It was that add to the advertising of a property operator. Now it's kind of going full circle back to that a little bit, because that has been done in the past, but new generation. Pretty exciting. Anything, sometimes you see a rental with a Sprinter van out in front too. So they're kind of living in all worlds, the RVs, the open spaces, and renting a nice place for a couple days too. Has that come across your desk a bit, or do you think about how do we advertise for that?
We haven't, we just sort of assume that falls underneath that broader umbrella of property management marketing. Everybody needs a little bit of AC and a hot shower every once in a while.
That's right. And a hot tub. That'll fix your life. And then the conferencing, just like I talked about, I think one of those great high level efforts would be where and how can we do the next size up? For me as county commissioners in the state of Oregon, we get together in November down in Eugene at the Graduate, and we use that whole facility plus a little bit more. And Central Oregon just can't handle that, the size of that organization, 500 something people or whatever it is, with multiple meeting rooms that can be rescheduled each day. But that's such a great opportunity, and it's not the big one, but it's kind of that mid-market conference opportunity, in the fairgrounds, maybe someday, if that's the right mix, or, other properties around Central Oregon someday. Obviously, Bend, I'm sure it's on the books there, how can we do that? But yeah. So I just let you know that let's lean into that one. As I say, kind of the next 5 or 10 years, it'd be great to have that.
Yeah, I agree. Happy to look into that as part of our growth plan.
So I noticed a picture of Crook County's fairgrounds, but were there pictures of Deschutes County's fairgrounds in here?
We did have a couple. There's.
I know there's a draft horse one, and I'm thinking like maybe that was at the fairgrounds, but nobody could tell if it was. And you mentioned Brasada, And, but it sounded like you weren't connected with Brasada. It's not part of your DMO people?
No, we're very connected with them.
You are.
We are. And it's because they fall under our umbrella in terms
They're
of.
right on the line.
Yeah.
Right, right. And that's, again, when we talk about, as an example, Meet in Central Oregon, we're trying to reduce those lines because I think something we say in this industry a lot is that we all are acutely aware of those lines, but a visitor has no idea.
Yeah, when you're,
And we're just trying to create the best experience possible for a visitor. That's why they come back. And so we very much partner with them when we can.
Okay, because you did mention Primeville, and I'm thinking like, well, that's going around Brasada. So just,
but I can imagine, yeah, if somebody's calling to schedule a wedding, they don't want to hear about which counties and who and where. They just like,
What's
what's within a half hour here, right? That kind of thing.
If I could circle back to the destination stewardship, destination management component of your presentation, it was really helpful to see kind of the history of the future fund grant cycles and the county money alongside the RCTP funds. I noticed in your slide that this year there's no county money into that granting. And I was wondering, is there, maybe there's no county money in the granting, but in the kind of setup and support of destination stewardship efforts, staffing? That was my first question. So is there county money in destination stewardship in other places besides the grants? And then the second question is, I'm not remembering kind of the way our agreement is structured. Like, what years or under what conditions is there county money going into the Futures Fund grants, and what years is there not?
Sure. So to answer your first question, there is a destination stewardship presence in other parts of the county budget. It tends to show up in the form of marketing. And so whether that's promoting like our partnership with Leave No Trace, the Hidden Sunflower Program, Wheel the World, it does show up in other pockets of the budget. It just doesn't show up specifically as grants. To answer your second question, my understanding is that there was county money involved in that program. I want to say it was maybe 2021 or 2022 when there was a large amount of carryover, and that's when that program was created. The reason we no longer really pull grant funds for that program from the county side is because our intent with that, and it doesn't always shake out this way, but our intent with that is that those grants are for our regional and rural partners. That's what that program is really designed for. We do, in the end, typically award funding to somebody somewhere in Deschutes County. But that grant program at present is entirely funded from that portion of the budget.
Okay.
just wondered, Tom, if you could maybe, noticing in the graph on page 244 in our packet, with all the lines going, actually the year 23-24 was worse. And I'm just wondering, okay, so the red line stopped in February. Do you think the last 2 months have we gone down below that? Or do you think our numbers are going to be okay for the region?
I think your numbers we find January, February were not great months. Again, so much of this revenue is coming from South County anyway.
Right,
March,
75%.
March was incredibly strong. April is even going to be stronger. If I have a few minutes, my focus is, as I look into the future, is that there's been a tremendous evolution on tourism and hospitality in general, especially with vacation rentals. And so a couple of challenges I see is that I'm particularly focused on restaurants and individual restaurants, because what you're starting to see, and I don't know if it's a trend yet or not, but we generally talk about room nights and whatever else, but we have a lot of independent restaurant owners as well that depend on tourism. And with the evolution and the significant growth of vacation rentals, are we start to see a trend that people are not dining out? They're actually going to the grocery store. And I think at some point we need to start looking at analytics in regards to restaurant spend per visitor or something like that. So you start to get a feel for that, because I think some of the restaurants might be struggling, and you're saying, well, but we're running 90% occupancy, but If they're cooking dinner at home or doing a barbecue, then the restaurants are not getting that. And that would be very relevant, especially in Bend, because there's been so much new product added, and just on the west side of Bend alone with all the new restaurants. I see that as a trend, something that we should focus on. One of the things that Scott's done a really good job on was that one of the rules that came back on the board was to stop talking about percentage of revenue and look at cost to run an organization and then year-over-year increases. And if you notice, I think our costs are going up 5%. What you're going to see, which is a good problem in the years ahead, is that I believe the funds required will be much less than the funds generated. So whether you put that money into reserves or whatever else, but you are going to see growth beyond the need of the expense associated with it, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Generally speaking, you see a 3 or 4 or 5% increase year over year, but revenues are going to grow more than that, because just Caldera Springs alone is driving significant revenues in South County. And so therefore, I think as a board, when you're looking at Scott's here in 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years from now, you're going to have, I think it's going to be, well, how are you going to spend that money? Because as long as we stay away from saying, whether it's 30%, 40%, 22%, doesn't really matter. It should be, what did you spend last year? How successful were you? And you're proposing a 5% increase for the upcoming budget year. And then you match that. It shouldn't be like, well, we get 3.8 million or 3.4 million. It should be, here's what's required to run a successful organization with a primary focus on marketing. If you could add 2 weeks on the front end and 2 weeks on the back end, that would almost add between 25 and 30% to your high season. So 4 weeks would have almost a 30%. That's how regional we are, seasonal we are. That's why you have to focus on group and conventions, because the people coming in for group and convention are not cooking their own food. They're going to the restaurants. So we're putting $300,000 in. I think in future years, that should be $1 million. Just putting a number out there. I'm talking about whatever it is, 2 or 3 years, because you got to bring in your Moritz Travels, the decision makers, the people that manage the Edward Jones of the world and Microsoft. They make the decisions as to where these folks go for meetings. So we're starting that process, but I do believe we need to go there, because I do have a concern, especially for the individual restaurant owner, as to whether or not they're going to be able to get enough business in the off season. That's sort of my quick evaluation of where the business is going. I just feel year-over-year increases should be based on what you need to run the organization, not a percentage of revenue. And then take that excess, if there is excess, and invest it into areas, whether it's like, for instance, arts and culture. Let's have a month of food and wine that highlights Central Oregon as a great destination for food. You have golf already, fairgrounds, Mount Bachelor. The airport is absolutely a must. What we can do there to grow, whether it's travel banks or whatever else. We're in a very healthy position. Scott's done a wonderful job since coming in to sort of right-sizing the organization, putting them on track, and he has a good fiscal mind. So I feel very strong about the future of the organization under Scott's leadership. But just remember some of those things I just mentioned, because we do want our restaurants to be, even though they're independent restaurants, we do want them to be successful.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Those are small business owners,
Small business owners that hire people, they provide healthcare,
lots of jobs.
lots of jobs. So that's an area where I think we can, if you want to talk about affecting the region in general, and I don't care if they're in the city of Bend or what city they're in. It's just they're all family members and people who are trying to make a living, But I think as an organization, we could make a huge impact there.
Great. Well, thank you for coming back in, and thanks for that assessment of Scott.
Well, I'm in my 19th year at Sun River.
Well,
Yeah.
19th. Congratulations.
It's been fun. Not all the time, but most.
Well, most of the time, right? Except for last summer, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Any further discussion or questions?
Well, thanks for your partnership and professionalism, marketing Central Oregon. It is a tri-county area, lots of amenities and opportunities, and we do want to respect, the environment we have, and make sure it's always welcoming for the next person also.
Thank you.
Yeah. The investment of transient lodging tax collected by the county in Visit Central Oregon has been, it is a longstanding commitment. It is, I think it has a good return on investment. And it's great to have you in to kind of share with us your in more detail what your plans are for the year, so we can just kind of sustain and continue that partnership.
I think on a side note, did we not hear that Caldera had already sold like 42 units this year to date? I mean, That was the number I think I heard a little bit ago. And normally you sold 30 units and you project it's
It'll
going to be
It'll be more like 50.
50 when you, okay.
It'll
So
be-
we're way ahead of schedule.
We're way ahead, yeah.
Yes.
It will probably, compared to phase one, it probably will be built out anywhere from 4 to 5 years sooner.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, it's,
So we need to get those people that when they get their house built, they go out to the restaurants.
well, they will.
Yes.
Those folks will.
Yes, they will.
They-
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks,
Thank you, folks.
Tom.
See you later.
See you.
Right. Item number 10, return to a topic we've been discussing over the last few weeks, report back to the board on recent homeless camp relocations onto county-owned land in East Redmond.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eric Kropp, Deputy County Administrator. I'm being joined by Christy Bollinger, our Property Manager.
Eric.
As the title indicated, the board asked for staff to come back this week and wanted to report on two things. One is the board asked staff to reach out to the City of Redmond and request a written response back to the board's letter to the City of Redmond asking that the City of Redmond delay the closure of Desert Rise. So after the board meeting, staff reached out to the City Manager of Redmond requesting the letter. City Manager Keith Wachowski emailed back and let us know that the mayor has been out of town. He returns tomorrow. So that's the status.
I didn't think he was going to be at the managed camp meeting though tomorrow. I thought on my calendar it said he wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I don't know the status of him attending. It was just the response back from the city manager was that the mayor is on vacation until April 23rd. I'll talk to him when he returns. So perhaps he's getting back on the 24th. I'm not sure. So we'll report back after we hear again from the City of Redmond on that piece of it. Then at last week's meeting, the board had additional questions about people who are homeless living east of Redmond on county-owned property. The request from the board was to be a little bit more granular on where the folks are living. So the staff report outlines the number of people camping on county-owned land as of April 14th. And as we always mention, when we report these, it's just a snapshot in time, and these numbers change weekly and sometimes daily. So based on the April 14th count, there were a total of 160 people living on county-owned property east of Redmond, and it broke down as 18 are living in the area that we call Hemlock North. So that's county-owned property north of Hemlock Avenue. There were 11 on the DSL land, or technically the county-owned land that we want to exchange with DSL. 57 in the Core 3 footprint, which is a large area. 74 in what is referred to as the green zone.
How big is the green zone? How many acres?
I can do that measurement really quick if you just give me a minute.
The total is 160. Also, our security firm, when they see new camps, they ask people where did they last come from? Where did they relocate from? And this is just based on what people tell them. We don't verify the information. But there were 14 people that recently relocated to Core 3 and the Green Zone. When asked, 10 of those folks said that they came from Desert Rise. 2 said the area of Basics and the Fair and Expo Center. 1 claimed they came from Veterans Village, and 1 from Sisters. So that concludes the staff report. We're happy to take any questions, and Christy is looking up the acres of the green zone for an estimate. Yeah.
So with this update, we can return to the question of what, if anything, does the county want to do beyond the letter that we sent over about requesting delay of clearing of Desert Rise till we got the managed camp up and running. Because, you know, as we can see, we can send a letter, and if there's no follow-up, there's just going to be a whole lot of people being moved from Desert Rise, and many of them will be ending up in various county properties. And I think if we are concerned about this, then we need to do something beyond sending a letter over, because it doesn't seem to be having a whole lot of impact.
Just to answer Commissioner Adair's questions, it's approximately 360 acres.
The green zone.
Correct.
So they're all over that green zone, the 74 of them.
Yeah, the concentration is more on the west side of the green zone, but yes,
Sorry, what was the acreage again?
approximately 360 acres.
And I checked my calendar again. It still says Ed isn't going to be there at the meeting tomorrow, the managed camp meeting. So maybe we can confirm with Redmond that he's not going to be there.
Well,
I'll check with Keith.
Counselor Zwicker is a pretty active participant in that group, and the city manager got directions, guidance from Ed before Ed headed out of town. You know, I've heard Ed thinks this at a recent water meeting at COCO. So you know, whether the mayor's there or not, that meeting can happen and can proceed.
So, I mean, I'm ready for a reset and a big community discussion about what we do here. Deschutes County has been the nice guy a few times where we're getting maybe the result of cities wanting to take action on this, but not really take responsibility. There's a moment of conflict in the near future where we're just going to have to go through it. There's no easy way that we're going to just make it better unless we get real serious, because there's some people that are going to participate, some people are not, some people are really needy, some people maybe just need to move along. We've got to kind of just reset this whole thing. And I don't know that right now is the moment for that, but as I say, I think Redmond should have taken on the managed camp independently of the county to be a partner half and half, and then have a partner say, well, but we're going to go do this other thing right before it all. I mean, that's their prerogative, but as a board, we've just been a little bit passive in receiving and hoping tomorrow is going to be better. So, but if there's ever support for that action, it'd have to be the majority of this board.
And please say more about that. So what's your thought process on Redmond should have taken on the managed camp themselves without us? Is that saying, well, if it's going to be all Redmond, it's all people cleared from Redmond properties that end up in the managed camp, then it should be their responsibility? Or you know, help me understand why you would think we don't have a role in the managed camp.
We live in a locked down land use world where people are scared to open up the land use book. We've got resource land, and now we have people living on the resource land. We're not backed up by the governor's office. State legislature is not really paying attention to this. So we're a county and we're in the middle of it. And who's our partners? Who's there with us? Who's got partnership, arm in arm? Yep, we're going to go work on this. We're going to make it better for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the land that we're talking about is within either the Redmond UGB or the Redmond Urban Area Reserve. So the county and the city have significant land use authority and responsibility in these areas. You know, you can try and drag the state into it, but really, I think it is our problem.
Yeah. So as I say, for you and I to debate it is probably not going to go real well. Obviously, you know, we're seeing different things here. So that's why I mentioned the majority of the board, if we wanted to take some different actions. I've been outvoted in the past about how this would proceed months and years ago now. So I've got ideas.
Well, yeah. What are your proposals beyond the long-term visitor area? Do you want to put some other ideas out there?
Well, so when the governor's office came in with the emergency homeless order and dropped a bunch of money on us, that went right around the Board of Commissioners. The multi-agency action team, bunch of service providers, our Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council was in the middle of it. And we were informed after the fact. So that's when I say a reset, we need to do a reset. We need to get back to it. If we're the governing body of a Board of Commissioners, Deschutes County, and we've got a problem, and I think we're on the other side of the peak of this problem. I don't think it's getting worse. We do need to make some tough choices in the near future. But it needs to happen full participation with our Board of Commissioners and not engaged, service providers, nonprofits, faith-based community, all thinking we're doing great work, but nobody's taking responsibility. So, buck stops here, but that's a whole reset. And that's all I don't, as I say, you and I don't see it the same. So I don't know that it's valuable for me to try to explain that more with you.
Yeah. Well, I would just say that persuasive, compelling concepts and visions have people rally behind them. And so in terms of taking leadership, if you have been putting out your vision and your policy ideas and people are not rallying behind them, it is just a reflection that is a reflection
point
that
of conflict that has to happen in our community. We want to provide more government resources to fix more problems. It sounds like an easy path, and we can't take the easy path. We don't have any more resources. ARPA was the money that we were able to spend on this, and now we're done with that. So there's a moment that we need to reset for. So, yeah. You can, and as I say, I don't want to discuss it with you.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
You led off by saying, well, we need to take a different direction. And now, I'm inviting you to share your ideas. And
then you critique me about my leadership style as a response.
No, I was just saying that if you put out a vision and people don't rally behind it, it is not their fault.
So I sat here quietly for a year as the two of you went to the managed camp meetings, and now we're here.
Exactly. So for the TSSA, my idea got, let's say, literally transformed. It got sandbagged, and I said to go from 40 acres, and I meant it, to 20 acres. And what did we do? We counted all the little sites, and then we said, oh, yep, that's about 40 acres. Well, that is not what I said. We're talking about 360 acres. So I'm thinking, okay, if most of the people are on the west side already, let's take 20 acres of the west side of the 360 acres, and that's where everybody goes until we get that managed camp operating and going. But we have such a fire danger this summer. We've already had 2 fires out there. The people that came in the other couple of weeks ago had no idea we had all those fires. I saw the smoke. It was on Saturday morning, and then it was Saturday afternoon. We have got to make sure that those people go in a smaller area. They've got fire extinguishers, and we keep our community safe. Those fires, they were a nice little wake-up call, and I would say move the 160, because we were told there were 90 people at Desert Rise. I don't know. Is Desert Rise empty now? I'll find out tomorrow. Is it empty? Have they all moved off of that?
I'm unsure of that.
Right. I doubt that they probably have. But we were told 90 there. So we know at least we have 160 people. We know some of them are already on the western side of the 20 acres. And I mean it, 20 acres. That's like it's 12.5% per acre for each one of those people. And aren't some of these people together? Are they all individual campsites?
It's a mix.
A mix. Okay. Well, some of them I'm sure probably are together, maybe 2 people. Anyway, we really actually have to put them in a certain spot so that we know we can respond whenever there's an issue. And some of them won't like it, but you know what? The people that have the picket fence and the corn 5 feet tall that I saw 2 years ago, out there, that's really, they're homesteading on public land.
Following this idea, Eric and Christie, so we've had these maps with a green area and a red area identified for a long time. And yeah, I think it'd actually be pretty difficult to, with those maps, we've created expectations. We certainly haven't invited people to move to the green area. We've just said these areas marked in red are areas where you are not allowed to be. But there's this other area where we're not saying you're not allowed to be. We're not inviting them, but we didn't say this is not an area where you can't be. But we've been using that map with the red and the green for a year now. And so I guess, a practical question related to what Commissioner Adair is proposing is, if we've been putting out a map with that green area identified for a year, and there's a lot of expectations out in the community that that's the green zone, how would you, how could you feasibly reel that back in and make that, shrink the green zone dramatically at this point in time with so many people already in motion or established on the green zone?
We would have to put together a plan. The TSSA is closing the 2 areas north. So we'd have to put together a plan of shrinking it. Staff has been prioritizing the DSL land, the core 3 area. So that's been our focus. That's been the county's priority for good reason.
And we still have 68 people there, according to this chart.
On core 3?
Well, DSL is 11 and core 3 is 57. So
We haven't started moving anybody from the core 3 footprint. Our focus has been, just to add to what Eric said, has been 21st Street footprint. We were able to clear that off. So 21st Street segment's done. We were able to clear off the managed camp footprint. So the managed camp development is done. And we're focusing on the DSL land footprint. And I'd just like to add to Eric's comment about a plan for shrinking the green zone. There's a cost to that because a lot of the individuals that live on the site don't operate, their RVs or their cars don't operate. So if you truly do want them to be in a smaller footprint, there's a cost to that to help them.
what did the fire cost? The 2 fires we just had, what did those cost? And what about it? What if it happens in this windy day when the wind is 25 miles
So
an
in
hour?
southern Deschutes County, we had a camp and there's a big old wooden plaque that said COVID camp on it. And it was a mess for a long time. We kept going in there trying to offer help. I went up there on a Saturday morning with my pickup truck and a tow strap, and we moved an RV that was barely operating out of the way of another person to be able to get them to move their trailer because that was their last excuse. So if it's go time, it's go time. We can make things happen. And as I say, we've been doing community cleanups, basically practicing working as a community team to do cleanups and help people move. So if it's go time, it's go time. But I don't know, we keep dancing around this thing.
And it is great for us to be able to get high priority strategic areas cleared. But, I also wanted to just emphasize that moving homelessness is not solving homelessness. So I don't know.
These are the last few people moved off of the COVID camp area to an apartment, and they wanted to bring his personal belongings. So we made sure to move those personal belongings. The assumption that you keep coming up with that is so damn negative is not appropriate. We're doing God's work out there, and you're sitting here thinking that bad things are happening.
No, I'm just saying that in this,
but that's what I received from what your comment, which is
no, I'm saying in the setting of East Redmond, where are you going to move people to? There is a whole system of service providers, affordable housing developers who you just said shouldn't be involved in any of the planning around it.
He didn't say that.
Oh my!
When you said money came through the executive order, and service providers shouldn't be deciding about that. We should be deciding about that.
If we have
that is exactly
we need to be at the table.
You can rewind the video and watch that if you want. but that is what you said. So,
Yeah, as I say, I don't, we're not.
so, but to go back to the, to go back to the comment, moving homelessness is not, solving homelessness. We do need places for people to move to. The situation you described in South County is
Come to the same
is-
conclusion about a long-term visitor area with me?
situation that you just described in South County is great. You know, when there's actually an apartment, a real unit of permanent housing for people to move to, that is awesome. Congratulations for that. And the scale of the problem that we're facing in Redmond is very large. And there are already a lot of people firing on all cylinders to try to create pathways out of homelessness that people who are currently unsanctioned camping can take. And, you know, some of them are things like the permanent supportive housing project that would occur just north of Oasis Village that you were not supportive of. So,
But that's done. Okay, that is happening. Honestly,
I'm
we're hitting
supportive
to
of that.
summer and more people are going to come in summer, remember? So
voted no.
more people come in summer. So we actually need to have rules. They have to be very specific and this is where you move. And honestly, I don't want it bigger than 20 acres. I want it where this is where you go till we get that camp open. We have to, I would say, get a handle on the situation. Our summer, we've been warned. We've had a murder out there. We've had a murder and we've had 2 fires. Let's do what we can and have security and do it sooner rather than later. It's now almost May 1st.
Going back to the practicality of of shrinking this green zone, you mentioned that most of the people in the green zone are concentrated on the western side. Okay. Do you have a sense of kind of footprint of where, you know, how many acres on the western side of the green zone would encapsulate most of the people who are already out in the green zone?
I don't, Commissioner.
Because we could set 20 acres as a target, I think, to be very.
That's what we're doing for the TSSA. And that's actually, I believe the last number I heard was maybe like 190 people. So if they're being focused on 20 acres, we're dealing right now with 160 people. It seems like it's reasonable.
But the TSSA, we made some significant investments to set up the TSSA. The green zone is,
Well, we've made.
green zone is not
significant
something that
investment
we
on the managed
chose to
camp.
do.
And I would like to get to the managed camp as soon as we possibly can, but in the interim, I really want them to move in a smaller area. They should not be on the 360 acres. We can't have a fire start on the back of it and the wind is blowing 25 miles an hour. That just isn't, that's a challenging situation for our climate at
So
this moment.
it would be really good for us to talk about the managed camp, and then maybe circle back. So what I would propose, so we've added item number 11, this upcoming meeting with DSL regarding the land exchange for the 137 acres in East Redmond. I'd suggest we move to that topic, then we circle back to the managed camp, and then we circle back after the managed camp to the green zone. So if we could move on to that now. And again, all these topics are completely intertwined. So, but it's just trying to think about a logical order to go through, because, you know, how soon the managed camp is going to be ready is really important to understanding, you know, what we can and can't practically accomplish in the green zone. And the DSL land exchange is the driver for us for the managed camp. So that's my proposal for us to go through topics in that order. So with that.
Yes, at last week's board meeting, we asked for one commissioner representative to meet with the head of DSL, who is planning on coming to Central Oregon next Monday. All 3 commissioners wanted to meet with the director and the DSL staff. We communicated that back to DSL. Obviously, with 2 or more commissioners, it would be a public meeting. DSL responded that they would prefer to not meet in a public meeting. So there's a couple of options. They are committed to coming next Monday afternoon. They also want to tour both sites, the county own the land that the county owns and also the land that DSL owns. So just a couple of options for the board to consider. One is commissioners could meet individually with the head of DSL and staff. So there could be 30-minute meetings, and each commissioner could meet with so that we're not creating a public meeting. Another option is for one commissioner to meet with the head of DSL. Then when the group tours the county-owned land, a different commissioner can join that tour. And then when the group tours the DSL-owned land, a different commissioner can be part of that tour, so that each commissioner would have an interaction with the head of DSL, but not a public meeting.
So a department head of a state agency doesn't want to meet with a governing body trying to do a transaction here. So, the Department of State Lands is the governor, the treasurer, secretary of state. Their department head doesn't want to meet with us in a public meeting now. This is the topic where as I say, Commissioner Chang, you mentioned, it's got nothing to do with the state. We've just taken people from BaseX Fair Expo area, recently moved, number of people too. So we're keeping their property clear for them next to the fairgrounds. They're going to put the screws to us about making sure we don't have people, and we need to be cleaned up on the east side of Redmond. Don't want to meet in a public meeting. Where's the partnership? None, no partnership.
Well,
you don't need to
frankly,
respond. And I don't need to meet with them either. If we want to send one commissioner, that's fine.
You want to make a statement, you're going to get a response.
Well, that was more, are you speaking for the governor's office? Or are you speaking to the Department of State Lands?
I'm speaking for myself.
Okay. Are you speaking to the people or are you speaking to me?
Both. Yeah, I can appreciate that in this election season, when so much effort is being put into demonizing the state government, using it as a punching bag for electoral gain in campaigns.
Like your editorial in the paper today. Pachoo! Big old punch.
Your record is your record.
I'm just pointing out. Don't try to.
You need to
Don't try to.
That's right. That's right. Your record.
Who's the environmentalist that joined the Board of Commissioners?
Who's the environmentalist who?
Yeah, natural resource manager.
Well, I am.
How long you been here?
I'm the person who has a natural resources background.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
we're tied up in a gridlock in the state land use system, and now you're blaming me for not being able to break the land use system.
No, I'm blaming you for when you have opportunities to do things, for not taking them. When we were given the opportunity to move towards sewering parts of our 6,000 septic systems in the zone between La Pine and Sun River. I've raised it a number of times in the last 8-9 months since that legislation was passed. And I keep hearing, oh, we'll get around to it. We'll deal with that later. That shouldn't go in our work plan.
So if we had money in a groundwater protection fund, that would be go time. And now, once again, in the
No.
So
It
we're going to go off in different
way,
for a while
it
here.
takes way longer. It takes way longer to set up a capital construction investment.
Could we get back to the land exchange? That's what is supposed to be on the agenda right now. That's what you said you wanted to talk about. And what are we going to do? The state doesn't want to meet with us, according to what Eric just said, doesn't want to meet with us as a group because it doesn't want it to be a public meeting. I think that's unfortunate that we can all meet because we've been working on this for what, 10, 20 years on the land exchange? It's
Just additional information, the state said that they thought that it'd be more meaningful conversation if it was individually. So I wanted to clarify that.
Well, we got the impression that they wanted to walk from all this, and we've actually been working on this. We've spent a lot of money working to clean up things. We're not right where we should be at this moment in time, but I do believe we will shortly. So what is shortly? 3 months? Will we have that managed cap and open in 3 months? Have we sent things out yet?
No, we have not.
No,
We'll be talking to the subgroup tomorrow.
tomorrow, Thursday. Is that the subgroup in Redmond or is that a different subgroup?
One in Redmond that you and Commissioner Chang switched back and forth on.
Okay, so that will be discussed then in Redmond tomorrow. All right, because we really need that. We've, what did we spend? Almost $1 million on the managed camp. The bid came in way higher than we originally projected. I know Taylor Northwest did an excellent job, but we need to be able to utilize that facility. It's really the key to a lot of things that we're discussing at this moment.
Yes.
And while we're talking about the managed camp and the RFP, can you describe for us a little bit about how the RFP is being reworked and who we're receiving input from that, gives us, that should give us some comfort that the next time we put the RFP out, we'll get more complete responses?
Yeah, the initial RFP, the intent was to find a camp operator that would do a broad set of tasks, including the day-to-day operations of the managed camp, and also fulfill the requirements of the Redmond City Code for shelter standards. We had 3 bidders and did not award it. So the plan B is to kind of break apart the RFP, also for the county and city staff to take some roles and responsibilities. Probably one of the big hurdles for nonprofits was to assume the total responsibility and liability for a managed camp. Under the Plan B, the county would retain that responsibility, which puts more on the county, especially in terms of liability, but is more likely to have somebody, a nonprofit, to step forward to say that they'll assign people to each site, work with city and county staff on the rules and enforcing those rules, and also working with people and nonprofits to get people into some type of housing or shelter. So the idea is, rather than finding one entity to operate to do a series of 10 tasks, to break that apart and hopefully find 1 to 3 nonprofits that would work with city and county staff to open the managed camp.
But then liability is going to come our way in the end, probably.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's a real shame.
Well, if we set things up right and we do a good job, then liability is something that I think we should feel comfortable accepting. So if we're sort of a la carting this, turning it into a menu, are there going to be dollar amounts associated with the different pieces, or I mean, last time we conveyed, 2 years, $500,000. Are we breaking out the RFP in that same kind of way? That here's the dollars available for this task, and here's the time frame expectations.
Yeah, that's yet to be determined. Tomorrow's discussion with the subgroup will be helpful on that. One approach is to say that we want somebody to bid on the piece of day-to-day presence, and we could say that you need to be there at least 1 hour per day, to have staff there, to walk through the property, to assign people to the sites. If it's 1 hour per day, the cost will be less. If we say it's a minimum of 4 hours, then obviously the cost would go up. Right. But also we could let people bid and tell us how they would handle that. So there's several options, and it hasn't yet been decided.
And how much input have we solicited or feedback have we gotten from service providers since the first RFP didn't result in an award?
We haven't directly engaged with the service providers. We have to be a little bit careful as we go through another open bid process. But we have met with City of Redmond staff to talk to some of our own staff, and tomorrow's subgroup includes some service providers.
So when did we, okay, so the last managed camp meeting was on the 19th of March, which Commissioner Chang attended. So when did we know that we had no successful bids? When did you guys tell us that? Because this meeting is over a month from the last meeting, and that's really way too long when we're like walking on pins and needles, two fires, one murder, like we really need to step this up, this joint meeting schedule. It doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, on March 19th, we knew that there had been 3 submissions, but you know, it was just the beginning of the review process.
Yeah, so the evaluation committee concluded at the end of March, and that's when we had notified the board.
Okay. So now it's 3 weeks later. Honestly, it's really unfortunate that we didn't have this meeting moved up to a week ago or, you know, sooner than 3 weeks after that decision was given to us, considering what has been going on.
Well, I mean, it's also in the ideal world, we would have started the discussions about an operator and designing the RFP a long time ago as well.
That's for sure. Yeah, we had 2 fires on, it was April 4th. That was Saturday morning, April 4th. So now we're, 20 days later, we're getting together.
We spent a tremendous amount of time focused on the hard infrastructure and the design of the facility. And we could have been walking and chewing gum at the same time. And that's a lesson learned. And we'll proceed as quickly as we can now.
Great.
Anything else on the managed camp? So we still didn't come up with a clear plan on meeting with the Department of State Lands. I'd be comfortable with this. One goes on a tour, one meets with them. If you all want to do that.
I don't need to participate. I mean, I can reach out and communicate if there's willing parties on the other side anytime.
Okay. Well, I'd be happy to.
I want to be there, so we can split it.
Do you have a preference between going on the tour or doing this?
Sure, I'd love to go on the tour.
Okay.
Thank you. We will schedule so that Commissioner Chang is in the meeting and then Commissioner Dare is on the tour. There's 2 opportunities for tour, Commissioner Dare, including you could do both, but we'll check with you in your schedule whether or not you want to tour both the county-owned property and the state-owned property or just one.
Okay, and this is Monday?
Monday afternoon. Yeah.
Afternoon, okay. Oh, I would say I should do both as long as I'm touring.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We will coordinate that with the DSL and your calendars.
So I had suggested we talk about the DSL meeting, the managed camp, and then circle back to the green zone after we had a better sense of when the managed camp might actually be up and operating. Before we go to that, I guess it would be good to ask. So in terms of a timeline for this new modified RFP, a la carte RFP, do you anticipate we would be able to release that shortly after the managed camp work group meeting tomorrow?
Yes. Yes, probably a week or two after within a week or two after the meeting.
Okay. And then what kind of time frame for response do you think we'll offer people?
Be a much quicker turnaround. We'll be asking for a lot less information. So I would propose that we give people about 2 weeks to respond.
Okay. So
one point of clarity, have we decided that the Deschutes County is going to be the responsible legal entity with the liability? Commissioner Dare, do you support that at this time?
To do what?
Take the liability of the managed camp. So we'll have multiple operators taking bits and pieces, but when it boils down to it, we're taking on the liability of a managed camp for a population looking for housing, and the people of Deschutes County that we represent, we would be taking on the liability of that.
We already have the liability. So and we're already breaking all our own rules. So I just want to get them to an area where they can actually
So then.
be more comfortable, know that they're safe. And I think that's incredibly important. People have to know that they've moved somewhere and things are safer.
Yeah, the managed camp, I still believe that the managed camp is a good idea. I do think that we have had a very thoughtful process of site design, and now we're catching up on a thoughtful process in terms of how it would actually be operated. And you know, I am comfortable with the county continuing with its role of being responsible, having liability, given the likelihood of success on a thoughtfully planned out project.
So, and then I'll just acknowledge that we're talking about this 30% or some small percentage solution. So we've got X amount of people, and now we're building a 30% solution, taking responsibility. So we're not solving the rest of the problem anyways.
Well,
I don't need to debate it. I was just acknowledging that.
Again, you want to make a statement, we're going to talk about it. Our number one most urgent priority at the beginning of this was getting the DSL land cleared. There's 11 people still there. There's plenty of room for 11 people in a 36 site managed camp. Okay. Anything further on this? All right, staff, does that?
Well, we haven't just, are you going to bring up the green zone?
Okay, good.
I
now
don't
that
want
we have a sense that the managed camp, 1 or 2 weeks to develop a new RFP.
Oh, he said a week or two. I wrote it down. And then 2 weeks, you said, anyway, and then giving 2 weeks to respond. Yeah, I would hope that we could use a week and get it out. And then that's definitely before June 1st would be awesome to be able to know that we actually have somebody that will be able to operate this.
I mean, there'll be responses back, there'll be a review period. And then after the award of contracts, I would assume that people will need some amount of time to ramp up the operation. If I was awarded a contract, I couldn't turn it around on a dime and get to work the next day. So maybe as part of the RFP, we can set out a kind of a realistic timeline for our expectations.
Yes, we could do that. And there will be a period of contract negotiations. We'll include the county's boilerplate contract so people have an expectation. But there always is a time period of negotiating the contract after the award.
Very good. Okay. And so now with that, with those thoughts in mind, what are our further thoughts about the green zone or about what we would like to say or ask of the Redmond City Council?
So I apologize. I do have this other meeting. It's once a year budget meeting for East Cascade Works. So I do have to exit at
You
this
have to
time.
leave right now?
Yeah, it
Okay.
starts 11, and then because we're going to be backed up to 1:30 is my problem.
Okay. And then if you want to go on the tour, just let me know and I'll be happy to share it with you.
No, that's fine.
I just feel that, the bait and switch of the TSSA,
I'm going to step away.
I'm not happy about that. And that's why I'm saying 20 acres, not an inch more, 20 acres. And clearly, if the good news is you already said that most of the 74 are already there on the west side, then this is where they need to go. We've got to keep our community safe. safe. And we need to keep the people that are, yeah. They need to follow a few rules.
So what was the specific proposal there?
I said 20 acres on the west side, 20 acres, not an inch more. Last time my acreage was bait and switched, and so I have to be explicit that it's 20 acres on the west side, and we can keep encouraging people to move to permanent, to some kind of other housing, but you know,
Yeah, before we set a number, yeah, I would like for staff to have a chance to assess kind of the density of people in the green zone currently and the extent of that.
that's 12.5% of 20 acres each person gets. How big are lots in Bend? I mean, this is a huge area.
And it's
20 acres.
It's also area that is not graded. It is not clear to vegetation. You know, just think about the difference between the managed camp that we have developed, where we can achieve very high densities of people and still give people an adequate amount of space per site because it is a constructed environment and it's not.
How many acres is the managed camp?
It's right around 10.
10. It's 10 acres for the managed camp. So we have 36 spots on 10 acres. Okay,
Oh, that-
I'm talking about 160 people on 20 acres. I think it could work.
And the 36 sites in the 10 acres within the managed camp is much less than 10 acres. I mean, that's a few acres for those.
Okay, because it can be
36
doubled,
sites.
actually, can it?
But I just,
But it is, again, I mean, we spent, you know, over $500,000 to grade and construct the managed camp. Like we would, you know, in the green zone, we are talking about an undeveloped area.
Listen, I've seen the developed areas. I've seen the picket fences that people have put in out on public land. And people that pay their property taxes are really, yes, they're over this. So they can move and we can,
if
we can,
just the two of us, and we're debating what size the green zone should be, we're not going to reach a conclusion today because
okay, Lynn, let's go on because
that's.
I don't, why-
So the
we don't need to
information I
argue
would,
about this.
the
They're very
information I would like to hear back from staff is kind of to try to give us a sense of where the concentration of people is within the green zone and kind of how many acres that is.
You could probably Google Earth it, can't you, Christy, and look at it right now?
That would be kind of difficult to do because it's not real-time information.
Oh, okay. All right. Send a drone up.
I'm sorry.
Send a drone up. Surely the sheriff's office could do that for us.
So you know, returning back to where we started this conversation, is there anything more we would like to say to the city of Redmond or any requests we would like to make? I would return to the idea that at least Mayor Fitch expressed some openness to doing some kind of a partnership like the TSSA with the county that would involve investment on their part and as well as investment on our part. So we could either ask for that or we could just let them push people off Desert Rise and see where they land.
Well, the mayor isn't going to be there tomorrow, so Kat doesn't have the authority. So we'll see what happens. See what she suggested after I ask her.
I mean, if we want to ask for something, we could put it in writing. And by the time the snail mail actually gets over there, I'm guessing that the mayor would be back. But if we don't want to say anything or request anything further, then
Well, what we can do is we can see what they offer tomorrow. And if what they offer is not adequate, then we can actually call for an emergency managed camp meeting and have it in a week instead of letting this go on for 5 weeks like the last one did. Yeah, clearly this meeting should have been moved up.
Also, just in terms of board expectation, in terms of opening up another TSSA in Redmond or even shrinking the green zone, we are not staffed to do that right now. I mean, we are focusing. We have a few of us that work on this at the county, and we are focusing on the managed camp, the DSL land exchange, and the other priorities identified by the board. These new initiatives would take additional staff. I mean, we're pretty full when it comes to working on homelessness.
No, and that's why I would want us to seek a commitment from the city of Redmond. If we wanted to do something like that, because the default is that we are dealing with all of these people who are moving to the green zone on our own.
That's why I said they moved to the west 20 acres.
Okay.
Very clear.
That's if that's the extent of our planning around this stuff for today, then we can move on to additional items or next items. Actually, we're not going to do other items until after the hearing this afternoon. So there's nothing else this morning?
There doesn't need to be anything else this morning. We can move the executive session and other items until after the last scheduled item on the agenda, which begins at 1:30. If that's the board's pleasure.
I guess we could do some of those executive session items now.
No, we really can't, can we? I think Commissioner DeBonne has to be here for them.
You're required to have a quorum.
Right.
So, you can certainly proceed without him if that's what.
Right, but I think the issue is at hand. I think it would be better if he was here.
Well, I have a hard stop at 3:45 this afternoon, and I was hoping that we could get the agenda conference in. I could get the agenda conference in this afternoon after the hearing as well, but we'll see what we can fit.
Do it now.
Oh, okay. So do the agenda conference.
Wish.
Do the agenda conference sooner than later. Okay, that's fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Perfect. So are we adjourned?
We're adjourned until 1:30.
Yes. Okay.
We're recessed.
We're recess till 1:30. We are returning from our recess to this April 22nd, 2026 Board of Deschutes County Commissioners meeting. And we will now proceed to item number 12 on our agenda. Hearing on the administrative appeal / grievance of termination filed by William Bailey.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dave Doyle, County Counsel. On March 2nd of this year, following a comprehensive investigation and a subsequent due process hearing, the County Administrator, Nick Lelak, terminated Mr. Bailey's employment with Deschutes County. The County Administrator was tasked with making that employment decision since the Sheriff was required to recuse himself due to being a witness in one of the underlying investigation matters. In order to provide Mr. Bailey with equal or greater due process, the county processed his investigation in accord with county personnel rules. Those rules allow that Mr. Bailey may pursue a grievance of his employment decision to the Board of County Commissioners. Those same rules allow that the Board of County Commissioners may utilize what's identified as advisory arbitration prior to a hearing before the board. Staff does note that in grievance documents submitted by Mr. Bailey, he identifies no less than 18 separate legal and or factual issues that he thinks are at play and relevant. In part because of that, staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners approve what's presented before you, which is Order 2026-015, which would direct this pending grievance to advisory arbitration. Should the board agree to approve that order, staff would work with Mr. Bailey's representative, and I do know that his representative, and I believe Mr. Bailey are here today, to timely select an experienced and skilled employment arbitrator to schedule the arbitration proceeding, to present the case, to argue the case, to secure a written advisory decision from the arbitrator, and thereafter to get a hearing scheduled before this board with the benefit of that advisory decision from the arbitrator.
So a little bit of clarity. So we have a proposed order in front of us. Has the other party been in, I don't know if that's the right term, has Bill Bailey and his representative been informed on this? I mean, are they up to speed on what we're looking at here today?
I did share the order last week, I believe on Friday, with Mr. Gunderson, his representative, yes.
Yeah. And then would it be appropriate to have a interaction at all, or at this time it's,
Up to the
yeah,
board
okay.
at this point,
So,
for to do.
yeah.
Yeah, it's open at this point, whether we want to proceed with an appeal hearing at this point, whether we want to consider this a referral to advisory arbitration, whether we need to have any discussion before we proceed to either of those things. What is the preference of my fellow commissioners?
I do believe when Dave first brought this to me last week, that looking at the documents for Deschutes County, this is really the way that we need to go, is to go to the arbitrary, and then it comes back to us. Is what,
Certainly that's staff's recommendation.
Right.
Complexity of this challenge.
there's the fact that there are 18 legal issues here.
Well, no less. I did my best at pulling them out of some of the documentation. I suspect there's potentially even more than 18 issues that would be addressed or raised and would ultimately require some level of decision-making on the part of the board. And so the way the personnel reads is the advisory arbitration is very much a discretionary decision on the part of the board. And that's historically going to be balanced on the complexity. If this was a single, far less complex item, then perhaps that might not be the path to follow. But we certainly think that would be a much more beneficial for all the parties involved, the county as well as Mr. Bailey, to have somebody that's experienced, this is what they do for a living. They deal with employment matters, complex employment matters at that, and provide that advisory opinion. And again, it's an advisory opinion, so ultimately the final decision on the grievance would be with you folks, but
This is going to be someone outside of the county, and would it be held locally then?
Typically that in the day they used to be. Now in light of Zoom and remote, I can't necessarily say that would be the case, but it would be an arbitrator with experience in employment matters from either one of the arbitration services or from the Employment Relations Board. And typically they provide the parties with a a list of 5 to 7 arbitrators that are experienced in this field, and the parties take turns, kicking one of the names, and then you're left with one, and that's who your arbitrator is.
Yeah.
That person conducts a hearing, much like a courtroom hearing. Typically, it's an evidentiary type of hearing where witnesses are called, witnesses are cross-examined, legal arguments are submitted both verbally at the hearing and then typically afterwards by post-hearing briefs. And that person, relying on their experience in that area, renders a decision on the salient issues that he or she feels need to be addressed. That comes back to you folks, and it helps guide you, at least, if nothing else, ultimately in your responsibility to hear the final grievance.
So the people that came today, would they be allowed to testify there? And then would they be allowed to testify with us, or would we just go on the decision?
They could certainly testify if someone called them as a witness. I don't know that they have any standing to just show up as a member of the public and say, I want to be heard. But if either side has any interest in having any of those folks testify, and the arbitrator thinks it's relevant to the underlying issues, that's a big issue. Whether it's relevant. I like Bill Bailey. He's a nice guy. That's probably not going to be relevant to an arbitrator in a matter like this. It's going to be more technical as to the process that was employed and whatnot. So that'd work out. I can't speak directly to it. The arbitrator would have a lot of discretion in that area as to what to admit and what not to admit.
So I support advisory arbitration at this time, which would be supporting this order, and acknowledging that, the grievance is so the grievance public information at this point, because we've been able to read the grievance that brought us here. Anybody else can read it.
Public document.
Yeah, making sure.
Provided a request, the media's requested it.
Yep.
Because of this case having so much notoriety, a lot of the typical public records exceptions were not allowed, and the
Yeah,
DA has
everything.
weighed in on all of these because of it. Typically somebody in the sheriff's office going through this type of a process, not everything would be as public as it's been, but in this case, this particular individual ran for sheriff, and in the recent past, and the district attorney decided that the public interest outweighed any personal privacy interests, and that essentially everything has been provided to, including the investigation materials, which typically wouldn't have been something that would have been provided, certainly not at the time that they were provided. But the DA decided that those needed to be turned over. So they were, and yeah, anybody's interested in the grievance documents, they could make a request either of the county or Mr. Bailey directly, I suspect.
Well, because I've been able to read, and I'm just acknowledging that, basically we're all called out for in one way or another as sitting commissioners now and receiving this grievance. So having advisory arbitration can clarify the decision points for a board. This is what I'm thinking. You can.
Certainly, and it's another level of due process. Had this been processed through the sheriff's office policy, it would have ended with the sheriff. But because of the sheriff recusing himself and not being able to participate, and then, kind of borrowing, if you will, from the county's personnel rules with regard to non-represented employees, the hearing before the county administrator basically sufficed as the one that would have been in front of the sheriff. And like I said, at the sheriff's process, that had been the end of it. Here, you have at least the additional one of the county commissioners potentially. And also, if you do the advisory arbitration, that's yet another one. So in essence, by utilizing the county personnel rule process, we're giving Mr. Bailey 2 additional levels of due process that didn't exist under the sheriff's office policy. And as I've told you folks for as long as you can remember, you generally don't get in trouble for giving too much due process, but you might get in trouble for not giving enough. So I'm comfortable giving these additional steps of due process, provide Mr. Bailey with the fullest and most fairest opportunity to have his grievance heard.
By an arbitrator that both parties will agree on.
Yeah, that's the process. They would have to, both parties would agree on the arbitrator that's selected.
Okay. All right.
So Commissioner DeBonne, you expressed support for moving forward with this order. Is that a motion, or just, sharing your initial thoughts?
I haven't made a motion yet, but I can. So at this time, I'll move approval of order number 2026-015, an order directing advisory arbitration.
And I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we can go to a vote. Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
and chair votes yes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yeah.
You.
A couple of things I would like to say to folks who are gathered here today. Maybe a few of you have emailed or called us on this matter. We are, in relation to this process, we are acting essentially as judges right now. And in, a court proceeding, judges aren't allowed to talk to people about the matter at hand while it is still being decided. So so I've been trying to write a short email back to people when I've received them, just saying, yeah, I am not allowed to talk to you about this right now. But I hope that people can understand that, given the role that we are playing in this process, if this is going to come to us to make a decision like a court would make a decision, we cannot be taking in information from outside of the legally structured process at this point in time.
Point of clarification. So we do quasi judicial land use, which is that record and the decision, and it can be appealed. Can you give us any words around where are we at? He's saying, because people are going to communicate with me on this topic all over the place.
Right. I think Commissioner Chang nailed it. You folks are sitting in this context as a quasi judicial body. You're not quite a court. You're not wearing black robes, but in terms of the procedures that associate with it, it's essentially the same. Folks shouldn't be trying to lobby you one way or the other. If they do, I think you can politely just decline to engage with them and move on. That'll be the best that we can do. You can't, preclude people from shooting you an email or whatnot, but you can certainly elect not to read them. And if you choose to respond, I would respond as succinctly as you can, that thank you for your email. I can't review it. Matter's still pending. Stay tuned.
Would there be any disclosure requirements or record requirements? Because there could be a lot of chatter on this, I guess.
Yes, certainly to the extent that you do convene as a body somewhere down the line to hear the final grievance piece of this, we would have you disclose on the record, probably more generically than specifically, that you receive emails from folks, saying, hey, what the heck, or whatever it was that they were necessarily trying to impart on you, that you haven't considered those, you're not going to consider those. And
So, yeah.
ideally not going to affect your impartiality or your ability to fairly, process the grievance. But as elected officials, it's much more difficult for you folks not to receive communications. And very often folks sending them don't quite, they're viewing you as their elected official.
I want to communicate, and that's what we do all day, every day, but this topic is going to be unique.
Certain instances, you folks are kind of cloistered like a judicial court would be as well. And this is one of those where it's best that folks not be reaching out or trying to engage with you on the issue, so that you can kind of remain distanced from it as much as possible. And certainly, Mr. Bailey and his representative may feel differently, and that may be something that they bring up at the arbitration matter. That may be something they bring up subsequently with you folks.
Just even this discussion could be discussed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah. And so.
All of that said, I just want everyone to know that we take our responsibility to provide a fair due process very seriously, and we are attempting to do that. And this decision about the advisory arbitration is a piece of that. This provides an opportunity for a much more extensive evidentiary hearing before this comes back to the Board of Commissioners. So we're adding a step to try to ensure that we're providing due process for this appeal.
And I could point out, just for the benefit of the folks here, this isn't something you folks do that often. I know Eric's been here pushing 20 years. I'm not sure. I've been here 12. I don't know that you've done one in the 12 years I've been here. If you have, I'm really having a hard time remembering it. And I suspect Eric would say likewise. I think we were able to find one back in the 90s that the county commissioners sat as the final grievance body on a non-represented employee that was challenging an employment decision. I don't know, Eric, if you recall one in your 15 or 20 years.
There were 2 or 3 grievances that went to the board, but they did not go to the advisory arbitration.
So it doesn't happen often. It's not like a land use matter that you're hearing, monthly almost. It's something that's very infrequent. This particular board, I'm confident, has never heard one of these as a unit. I'm pretty confident Commissioner Dare hasn't, even on a prior board. I'm not sure, maybe Commissioner DeBonne did, but
Like executive session for a labor matter at a board grievance, but that's the most I've been involved in.
it's pretty rare that it would get here, and especially in the sheriff's office, it wouldn't if the sheriff didn't have to recuse himself, but he can't be the final decision maker if he's also a witness to the underlying allegations and issues. So that put it in your lap.
Very good.
Okay, so thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, commissioners.
So we will be moving forward with advisory arbitration on this matter. And thank you for everyone who has joined us today for engaging in this process and for your interest.
Can you answer a question here?
I would suggest that those go to county legal or, the communications team and county legal here. They will probably, if they are procedural questions, how does advisory arbitration work and what is the timeline, things like that, they will be in a better position to answer those questions than we will.
Are you gonna supply us with the email or telephone number so that we can contact them?
There's a generic county email for the legal department, legalcounsel@deschutes.org. I will just caution people, I mean, this is a pending matter between an individual and the county. To the extent we could provide somewhat generic information, we will, but we're not going to get into the weeds with you on the particulars of the matter. You're not a party. And so that's just how that works.
Maybe, yeah, but maybe we can, with this decision, maybe we can have some kind of public communication about what was decided and kind of what an advisory arbitration process looks like.
Yeah,
broadly.
It's again, to the extent we can generically provide information, we certainly will, but we're not at liberty to be getting too deep into the weeds. This is a matter between Mr. Bailey and the county, and we're not going to be disclosing information that would otherwise remain within that silo. It's not our role. If Mr. Bailey wants to, he and his representative are free to provide any information they choose to provide. But the county has far more limits placed on us in terms of what we can reveal or not will. We have 1,200 employees. We generally don't discuss everything going on with any of them, generally with the public.
I'm just suggesting very high level information about the advisory arbitration process, because we're going to get those questions from the media anyway. And
I tend to think I've already articulated that here today, what the process is. I don't know a whole lot I can add to that.
Okay.
But to the extent someone wants to send us an email and we're able to respond, we certainly will. But it might be just a repeat of what I said here this afternoon.
fair enough. We can put it in writing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have. We, the people, need to have a point of contact, because when you send it to a generic email, we don't know how many hands or how many people have viewed it. It would be very helpful if you would put out who is the point of contact.
Our legal department has 7 people. So if you send it to legalcounsel@deschutes.org, it'll get seen by at least 1 or 2 of the lawyers in that pool of 7 people. I'm not going to commit to anybody right now as to who's going to see or respond or do what. We'll deal with that in due course.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that You can talk to, media representatives who are in the room today. You can talk to other entities who've had legal matters with the county. When they contact county legal counsel, they get prompt responses.
And if you don't get a prompt response, you can always send us an email and say you didn't get a prompt response. And
Okay. I'm going to defer to our communications team and county legal to provide you again with the overview information about what an advisory arbitration process looks like.
I could tell you it's a scheduling issue for the most part. First, you have to select the arbitrator. I would hope that could occur within the next few weeks. Then you have to find dates on the arbitrator's calendar, Mr. Bailey and his representatives' calendars, the county council's calendar, the potential witnesses that are going to be called by either side. And so there's that coordination effort that goes in. So, could it be turned around in 3 months? Possibly. 6 months? Possibly. I'm not comfortable committing to anything beyond that. I can't control, I can only control one calendar, mine. I can't control the other folks' calendars, so we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. These are, we will attempt to put out this overview information about this process.
To do anything. Why can't we do this before the next election to make sure that we have the right people in there? Why are we doing that? Because why would the voters want to vote for anybody else in Central Oregon right now after what you guys have put Bill through? So answer me that. Why are we waiting until after November to do that?
All I can say is that this advisory arbitration process is an addition of due process that will allow the appellant more opportunity to present their case in a very structured format, an evidentiary hearing, instead of, just a grievance, he said, she said, here today.
What happened? Okay, everybody knows what happened. And you guys still voted in a criminal for the sheriff's office. Excuse me, you guys.
Yeah, I think it's time to cut this off. This is not a hearing. Thank you for being here today. Again, you know who you can contact with procedural questions. This is a legal proceeding, and we are not at liberty to talk about many of the things that people are probably interested in talking about. Thank you. I'm sorry, but
It's out of closed door and today.
The arbitration process would be a private process. It's not necessarily an open public matter. Now, if the parties decide they want to do that, again, the arbitrator is going to have a lot of say in that. It's not going to become kind of an athletic contest where whoever roots the hardest or whatever. The arbitrator is going to look to the facts and the information and not public sentiment. That's not what's at issue here. And so I can't speak for the arbitrator either. If an arbitrator is willing to have an open arbitration and Mr. Bailey's willing to have an open arbitration, and then potentially that very well could occur. But again, I can't commit what an arbitrator is going to agree to or not. These are typically private type of matters. They're not, the arbitrator is not a public official. The arbitrator is a hired, retained professional that does this for a living with expertise in the area of employment law. So whether he or she is inclined to let it be open, I don't know. I would tell you the arbitrators I've dealt with over the years, the majority of would not have them be open for the very reason that it's going to become potentially well, Bill's a great guy. How can you do this to him? Well, that's not what the arbitrator's looking at. We'll all stipulate Bill's a great guy. It's whether what happened and what didn't happen and the particulars and how those bear on an ability to be employed by the county and the sheriff's office. So it's not that, some of the issues that would come up, but arbitrator might not really want to have that kind of get in the way of getting at the real issues, the legal issues that affect ultimately what happens. So,
Ultimately,
again, I can't speak for the arbitrator. If he or she allowed it and Mr. Bailey was inclined, I doubt that the county would be opposed to it. I mean, there'd be no reason to at that point. It's Mr. Bailey's private information that's going to be primarily coming out. And if he's comfortable having that in a public, arbitration process and the arbitrator is amenable to that, then I would think the county wouldn't stand in the way of that.
Thank you, Council.
okay. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. We will look forward to this process moving forward and for you to have an opportunity to track along with us. And the board has a couple of other items of business that we need to attend to. You're welcome to stay for our discussion of other items that we're going to have a couple of, possibly a discussion of a couple of other items if you'd like. And then we are going to go into an executive session on some other matters. So you can either stick around for a few minutes right now while we're talking about other items, or you can head out whenever you like. Okay.
You guys did about that. Yeah. My understanding of the training.
It's advisory. It's an advisory arbitration.
I think we can just wait until the room clears out. If you want to have a side conversation, please take it out into the hallway. Anyone who wants to stay for our other items discussion is welcome.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Right. So one of the other items that we have to we should plan around is our Fair and Expo Board appointments. I'm not sure whether.
Thought we had to do that on Monday.
Yes, but I just wanted to clarify that we have completed the interviews and that we are scheduling a time to discuss that. And Eric can also talk to us about how he'd like scoring submitted.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I did submit a staff report for Monday for board discussion on the item. What I'd like to do is give each commissioner a scoring sheet and just have you rank the candidates that were interviewed 1 through, I can't remember now how many, 1 through 5 or 6.
5.
1 through 5. And then the way we would score them is number 1, the top candidate would get 50 points. Number 2 would get 40 points. Number 3 would get 30 points. And we'd simply add those together and bring back the top 4 or 5 for discussion on Monday. And we can share the results. Well, we'll have a deadline before that date, and then we can share the results with the commissioners in preparation for the deliberations on Monday.
And so we're ranking top 5.
Yeah, we would have you rank all the ones who were interviewed, but I'll give each commissioner a form just so that it's clear.
Okay. Very good. And Brenda was just clarifying, we squeezed in our agenda conference over the lunch hour. And it looks like we will probably not have a board meeting on Monday because the only item that we had The only other item that we had scheduled for that day was a courthouse expansion update, and it was going to be very difficult to coordinate that around potential meetings with DSL staff in Redmond. So the thought was to just push back the courthouse expansion update 1 week to first week of May, and not have a Monday meeting. So we will put this Fair and Expo board appointment item on our agenda for Wednesday. That sounds all right?
Yes, yes. Also, the next Fair Board meeting, the Fair Board meets the second Thursday of the month. So at least we're not in jeopardy of that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to, I was speaking with Bill Kuhn yesterday and just promised that we would try to get this done next week so that they could tell their new board member that they had been selected and try to get them ready for the next meeting.
And it'll be in the memo given to the commissioners, but just as a reminder, there are 3 positions, 3 board positions. One of them is the final year of David Bishop's term. So it's just a short term. It's actually just through this calendar year.
Oh, okay.
And then the other 2 appointments are basically the 3-year terms minus the last couple of months.
Yeah.
So the board will need to differentiate on those appointments.
3-year terms and shrinking.
Yeah, there'll be basically a rest of the calendar year appointment, and then the other 2 will be just short of 3 years.
But in the ranking scoring that we submit to you, we're not doing that by seat.
Correct.
Just our, from,
That'll be the
from
discussion.
1 to 5. Okay.
Yeah. And one thing the board could do is the top 2 vote getters get the longer terms, and then number 3, but it'll be up to the board.
Very good. Okay. Are there additional other items?
Just a fundraiser lunch for Scouting USA yesterday. It was a well-attended, positive event for the community at the Bend Armory.
Great. Anything else?
Monday, I actually had a conversation with a group called Foundation Recovery Services. They wanted to include Deschutes County in helping with recidivism and handling our parole and probation people. And Tanner Work was on the call with me. And unfortunately, Oregon couldn't utilize these services whatsoever. Even California is part of what this company is doing. They're amazing. They work in several states in the country. They found a way with HIPAA and how to actually work on recidivism. And Oregon, because of the way things are through the Department of Prisons, whatever, Department of Corrections, we couldn't qualify for anything. I was incredibly disappointed. I was thinking that this might be something really good for people that, want to find their way and not recidivize. So anyway, that was sad. And then yesterday I did have a great conversation with a company that started in 2012 called WellDoc, and they're trying to work on medical issues for rural Americans, rural Oregonians. And so that was a company that's been around a while and what they're doing. And I suggested that perhaps they get a hold of Lapine Community Health Center and some other places here that they can, tell them what they're providing. Because it was a kind of a random email that I followed up on, and I was really glad I did.
The first item that you mentioned, if this is something that would affect corrections, parole and probation, recovery services in many Oregon counties, then maybe this is something that we could refer to our chair of the AOC Public Safety Committee to work on with other counties, if you can provide some
Definitely.
more details.
I will definitely do that. I just, when I call Tanner back, I'm like, Tanner, you've got to be kidding. We couldn't utilize this program that made a lot of sense to me. So anyway, yeah, that's a great idea because apparently we're going to have to go through the legislature in order to get things rewritten.
Great. Yeah, I can take that on.
Perfect role for C.
But yeah, please, define it a little better so I can hand it off. So
Okay.
I'm just saying,
The criminals, the parolees have all the rights.
that's all I'm asking.
You can have Tanner.
Yeah, Tanner, you
have Tanner
get a hold of,
Yeah, there you go. That'll help.
get a hold of Tanner. He,
I'll reach out to Tanner now.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
yeah, it was really incredibly disappointing. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Commissioner Dare, mentioned, two other quick little items. The building, for Lapine Community Health Clinic is,
How's it doing?
on its finishing path. So I was just at the East Cascade Works Employment Group, and Chad Davis from Scansa was there, and he just announced with the group that it's coming to a close now. It's going to be finished soon. I think, parking lot and sidewalks and all that kind of is done. So I don't know about the structure, but it's going to be open soon. So then that brought me into the concept of, oh yeah, at lunchtime, I attended the East Cascade Works board meeting for the region. So this is, border to border down the center of the state, about 8 or 10 counties involved with that. So good representation, celebrating the manufacturing jobs that are out there and, the economy as it is, trying to get folks into those positions. So they do a great job. And then the rest of the message was, obviously, they may have a downturn in their funding sources. They've had different grants come out through the years. They've had the WIOA federal dollars, and then there's a state program that wasn't funded recently. So they just see that 10 and 15% decreases in the total budget in the next few years.
So they qualify for that rural health through that just was announced through OHA because our behavioral health is applying for that. And so is, oh gosh, it's not hospice anymore. ClearPath from Redmond, they're applying for that funding too. And because they're in a population of, Lapine, they would be eligible for that.
Well, as I say, this is the workforce board. Heather Fick will be up on that if it's a possibility.
Well,
But that was just a big
it's
picture.
$197 million for the state. And I would think they would be at the top end to be able to apply for that. They didn't mention it?
No.
Okay. So
And then
contact
this
James
wasn't just the
Carmack.
budget meeting. This is
We can connect healthcare world and workforce world.
prepping for the budget meeting. When I left, I thought, oh, this is the budget, the kind of the pre-budget meeting. But there is one more meeting, so I was wrong when I left. But I needed to be there anyways.
Okay, very good. All right. Are there any additional other items? Seeing none, we will proceed now to executive session. And okay. just trying to monitor which executive sessions we're doing and who can be present and who shouldn't be.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660 to E and H, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss real property negotiations and pending litigation. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting in executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we will open the doors and invite the audience back to the meeting. Additionally, I'd like to note that on the agenda, there was labor negotiations were listed as a possible discussion during executive session, but those will not be discussed.
Thank you. We are coming out of executive session at this point, and staff has been directed to proceed as discussed. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
And we do not have a